Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show. Very happy to have you with us on the Sean O'Connell Show. Got a fun one lined up for you today. Gordy Chiesa, as we've still got NBA basketball. Brian Dunseth, our guy Dunny, to talk a little World Cup as we're right around the corner. What are we, 9 days away from the start? By the way, tickets still available to USA Paraguay. The first USA match is not even sold out. In a North American World Cup, your host nation, its team's first game is not even sold out. FIFA, if that doesn't tell you that your prices are ridiculous, I don't know what will. About 3,500 seats available on the actual FIFA ticket website, and then the resale market is unlimited effectively.
Is that the one in SoFi that you were trying to get tickets to?
Yes. I just needed to wait. Those prices, at least the resale prices, are going to have to come down.
You didn't buy tickets at a higher price, did you?
No.
You never got them? Okay.
No, I never got them because I was like, all right, even with free accommodation, travel, food, and the prices to the game, just it gets a little bit gnarly, you know? I think that you actually will – I don't know what Uber prices are going to be like on the day of the match. I'm sure that they'll be premium times premium times premium. But I imagine that getting a ride to the game is probably going to be more cost-effective, even if it is crazy expensive, than trying to rent a car and park. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll do a surprise broadcast from LA if the tickets drop far enough. Maybe we'll do one on the road. USA versus Paraguay. I don't want to make any promises
from the vacation home and the lavish vacation home in Southern California.
Yeah, not my lavish vacation home, but somebody else's. Yeah, a little Friday show on June 12th. Well, I mean, why not? Why not?
Sounds great. Right after you get back from Big 12 Media Days, you know what's
no, June 12th, not July 12th.
What am I saying? July, June, they're both JU.
They're both J. It's summertime radio, people. We don't know when we're actually going places. We don't know what we're actually talking about.
Yeah. I've done that so many times thinking about when World Cup games are, though. Like, oh, that's June, whatever. In my mind, I've gone, oh, that's July. No, it's June.
So on the World Cup official website here, the get-in price to the game, despite it not being sold out, the get-in price is still almost $1,000, $955 for the cheapest seats. Oh no, $913. Okay, we're coming down, baby. We're coming down.
Let's check in 10 minutes. 900 even.
Okay. Oh, 877. Let's go, baby.
Whoa, that's a lot. This is going down a lot quicker than. Are they Is FIFA listening to us right now? Did they hear you say, like, "Come on, FIFA," and now they're responding? Wow.
It's the opposite of an auction. It's just going down. Hey, 877. Hey, no one's taking that. How about 855? Do I hear 855? No. Okay, how about 800? You know how cool it would be if they did a live auction for cheap seats?
A cheap seat. I was just about to say, we need to figure that out.
You know how many $1 million ideas we've come with accidentally on the air? That might be the best one.
I haven't even written down one. What am I doing?
Yeah, what are we doing?
We need to put these at the bottom of the show page just in case.
A good thing our Broadway media salaries already make us millionaires.
Yeah, that's why we don't write it down.
That's why we don't write it down.
We're good.
We're already flush.
We're already good.
Speaking of millionaires, there is momentum. I didn't report on this the first time I saw it because I kind of wanted to see if it gained legs, if it got any more conversation. But I think it applies it's something that applies across all sports, even if it is at the moment being talked about for Major League Baseball, which, by the way, Utah Salt Lake City is the alleged frontrunner for MLB expansion now, perhaps even higher on the list than Nashville, who for several years has been considered to be a virtual shoo-in. Now, I think that we're golden on the western half of the United States because they're going to give Nashville a team, and then they'll want a western counterpart for that team. And Portland was hopeful. Sacramento is right now hosting the Oakland/Las Vegas Athletics, and Sacramento was hoping, like, if we show that we can accommodate this A's team for a couple of seasons, maybe Major League Baseball will gift us a permanent franchise. That's how Oklahoma City got the Thunder.
Yeah, the Oklahoma City Hornets, after Katrina, that Chris Paul, got those folks really excited. They showed, hey, we will show up for NBA games, and now they're arguably the best home court in NBA basketball right now.
So Major League Baseball is proposing potential expansion, and also there is some thought into putting a hard salary cap into Major League Baseball. Now, why am I bringing up this up right now? Because we're also talking about a time in college sports where the powers that be, and we know who the powers that be are starting to wonder if a hard salary cap is going to be the key to parity moving forward in college sports. And the beauty of it is, if you're college sports, all you have to do is look at Major League Baseball, because effectively they operate the same way as the power teams and the power by name teams, kind of like, the bottom of the Big 12, the bottom of the ACC. They're technically power conference schools, right? But we know that there is a gap between those teams and the big-time teams. Even the teams at the top of the ACC and the top of the Big 12, there's a gap. The gap between Houston and Texas Tech is probably just as large. And maybe Houston's a wrong example, because Houston is just like one big-time Houston billionaire away from being Texas Tech. So Kansas State might be a better example. Whoever you decide. The bottom spenders in the power conferences are just as far away from the top of their own conferences as the top of their own conferences are away from Michigan and Ohio State and Alabama. And we see that in Major League Baseball. We have seen that in Major League Baseball for many, many years now. And it's not quite so direct a correlation as the top payroll in baseball every year wins the major leagues, wins the World Series. But there is precious few examples of the frugal team, the underspending team actually having great success. I mean, how rare is it? Well, it's so rare that when it does happen, you get Brad Pitt to play your manager and you make a whole movie about it.
Yeah, the only team that's been able to do it recently with any kind of regularity is the Tampa Bay Rays, but they've had to turn over their roster every 3 or 4 years. So that's been probably why it's hard for teams to latch onto the Rays, because just like college football, it's like we don't even know who we're watching here. Like Randy Arozarena, remember him? Great Tampa Bay Rays star. He's with the Mariners now. So anyway, that's been the best example, but even they're not doing it every year where they're competing for a World Series, and they haven't won a title yet.
So if you go through the top payrolls in Major League Baseball, right? The 2026 season, top payroll is the New York Yankees.
Boo.
The New York Yankees have the top total payroll and the top active payroll. They're also paying $40 million to injured players right now, which is
so bananas. They have a higher payroll than the Dodgers then?
Well, because
of deferred money.
Deferred money.
Yeah, okay.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I forgot about that.
Because the Dodgers have done this thing, and specifically Shohei Ohtani he signed a $750 million contract that is deferred until like 2034. So he's making like $2 million in salary from the Dodgers until probably his retirement age, his baseball retirement age, not his like real world person retirement age. And then
he's getting hundreds of millions of dollars on that date.
Yeah. And then it's just like, oh, here, you can have all the. And by the way, he doesn't exactly have to suffer. The estimate on Shohei Ohtani's endorsement deals, remember, he's got U.S. endorsement deals and he's got a huge amount of Japanese endorsement deals. And, of course, international that crosses over to both audiences. The estimate on his endorsement deals is about $125 million this year. So he doesn't exactly need his Dodgers pay, which, by the way, anyone who works a regular job and then works a side hustle, if you can make it so that one pays for your life and the other one is 100% for investment money, for leisure money, for whatever you decide your priority is,
it really doesn't matter money. Yeah.
That's a really great setup, right? If you have one income that pays for your entire, like your bills, that's the boring stuff, all right? Insurance, mortgage, car payments, phone bill. You've got a job. Maybe you're a 2-income household and one person's income pays for all of those things. And then the secondary income, and hopefully it's just as big, if not bigger, the secondary income is just like, this is for the future. This is for investments. This is for fun. This is for our kids' future, whatever. Like, that's a win, man. For Shohei Ohtani, his secondary income is $125 million.
It's $123 million more than his current salary for the Dodgers because of the deferred money.
We're going to talk about this in the Daily Dump as well. Steph Curry, who's made an insane amount of money in NBA basketball, just reportedly signed a $1 billion+ deal with Li Ning, right? Anta was in, Nike was in, Under Armour was wishing he would come back, New Balance was in trying to get Steph. Li Ning, the Chinese shoe manufacturer, who also has Dwayne Wade and also has Jimmy Butler. Li Ning gets Steph Curry and for over allegedly $1 billion. Steph Curry's secondary income from shoe deals, and that's not to say any of his side projects with his wife, with his other endorsements not in the shoe world. He has now made, between Under Armour and this new Li Ning deal that goes over a decade, Under Armour was 13 years, he's going to have made like almost $2 billion.
And it's a shoe brand that, yes, as was been established before, I don't know a ton about shoe brands, but it's one that, even though recently it's gained a lot of steam, it's behind all those other ones, at least in like mainstream cachet. It's behind all those other ones you mentioned, and they're getting Steph Curry. Like, watch out for Li Ning.
So the money with all of this stuff gets ridiculous, but circling back to the main point of what I wanted to start the show with today, Gordy Chiesa is going to join us in about 15 minutes, so I'll try to organize my thoughts and get it all in. Major League Baseball is proposing a hard salary cap with a ceiling and a floor like we see in NFL football. This would cost this year, if the proposed model was adopted this year, it would cost players $500 million in salary, right? The proposed range would be 2027. The salary cap, the salary floor would be $171 million on your payroll. The cap would be $245 million. Now we go back to what people are actually paying realistically this year. There are 5 teams that are over that $245 million hard cap. The Yankees, the Phillies, the Braves, the Mets, and the Blue Jays are all over the cap right now.
That's wild. Even though we just established most of the money that players like Shohei Ohtani are making is not officially on the salary cap, it's wild that the Dodgers are not even in that 5. That group
Well,
of
the
five.
Dodgers' real number is 302 million, which makes them number one in the league.
Yeah.
But because of the deferred salary, the Dodgers are actually sitting down at number 7. Their actual payout is 171 million. So there's all these weird mechanisms, and I'll be transparent. I don't know if the total payroll versus the active 26-man payroll would be weighed against this proposed cap.
Yeah, I'm sure part of the league's proposal with this cap will be stricter rules around deferred money. Like that, why would they do this if they're just going to let the Dodgers continue to have that massive exploit that massive loophole? I would think that they're going to try to close that.
Just as interesting for me, if we talk about the teams that are below the salary floor, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, because we always discuss these hyperinflated, insane Major League Baseball salaries. The Seattle Mariners are below the floor.
Are they really? They're under 20. What'd you say it was? 127?
171.
171?
Their payroll this year this is their actual payroll. This is not the active 26. This is $162 million. Now, I started with the Seattle Mariners because they're a relevant team in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, they might go to the World Series.
They're a team that's got some stars. They're a team that's ready to win. They're very interesting. The Baltimore Orioles are below the floor. The Kansas City Royals are below the floor. The Pittsburgh Pirates are $68 million below the floor. Milwaukee is below the floor. Cincinnati, Colorado, Tampa Bay. Of course, the Las Vegas/Oakland Athletics are almost $100 million below the floor. The Cleveland Guardians are almost $100 million below the floor. The Minnesota Twins, the Miami Marlins, the Chicago White Sox. So I anticipated when I started looking at this that there would be a bunch of teams over the cap, over the hard cap. There are more teams below the salary floor in Major League Baseball than there are teams over the cap. That is insane to me. We're talking about, and the reason that these caps and floors exist is because the leagues want parity. They want some doubt to the outcome of a season beyond just like 3 or 4 teams. And again, this is the crux of college football's problem right now. Even though NIL has established more parity around the nation, and even though it has shifted the power structure a little bit away from the SEC and now favoring the Big Ten a little bit more, while the SEC, as much as we like to make fun of them, they're still firmly in that conversation. BYU has found a way to keep themselves in the talks. Texas Tech has found a way to keep themselves in the talks. Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, Duke, depending on the sport you're talking about, right? But the floor and the ceiling are designed to keep everybody in the same corridor when it comes to their assets and their spending. If you're going to establish a salary cap in Major League Baseball and enforce that, you also have to enforce the floor, because there's a bunch of greedy owners. There's a bunch of these miserly people that see their bank accounts inflating. And, Jed Lowry is the guy that we always rag on for this, but he's not even the worst offender this year. The A's have $15 million more on the books this year than Miami or Cleveland. So if Major League Baseball, the time-honored tradition of just like, hey, do your thing, spend what you want to spend, if even they are looking seriously at, hey, well, what about a salary cap and by extension a salary floor that kind of keeps everybody at least in the same spending category? College sports very obviously needs this. Now, an introduction of a salary cap in Major League Baseball, again, would be very informative for the college players, for the college world, because the reaction to a salary cap in Major League Baseball will not exactly be, let's roll over and take this from the players.
Oh, yeah.
I just told you it's a $500 million disparity in the collective player pool if this salary cap was enforced. Now, more likely than a hard cap, you would probably find an NBA structure where there's luxury taxes, there's aprons, and the Dodgers and the Yankees and those types of teams would perennially find themselves spending over the cap and being taxed. But even that, at some point, you got to pay the piper. You know what I mean? And that does, I think, increase parity even in the NBA.
It certainly, in this newest iteration of the salary cap with the luxury tax aprons, it certainly has made owners think twice about just spending, exorbitant amounts over the cap. Yeah, you mentioned that the players aren't going to roll over and just take this. Remember, was it last season, middle of the season, Rob Manfred visited the Phillies clubhouse and Bryce Harper told him to you-know-what off?
Which, by the way,
without him really even saying much about the salary cap, he's like, "Get out of here." It's been a little bit of time since then. Maybe there's a little bit different feelings about this. Negotiations have maybe softened some of the player staffs. Maybe they haven't. But the players do not want this. Absolutely.
Which, by the way, for Bryce Harper to hear salary cap and go off when he's made literally $250 million as a baseball player.
Yeah.
Bryce, I'm sorry. I don't want to hear that from you.
I know.
I know that people applaud that reaction because there's a general consensus like, oh yeah, fight the power and screw the corporate, the corporate bigwigs and all that kind of stuff. And I'm totally fine if you have that stance and you don't like the commissioner in any league because you know that they work for the owners and the owners are America's like corrupt oligarchy. That's fine. We like, you can go down that rabbit hole if you want. But if you have like a 10-day contract guy, if you have a dude who just got called up from the minors, like him getting mad about the proposed salary cap, all right, I'm with you. Bryce Harper, you don't get to scream about somebody maybe taking a small percentage of your $250 million earnings. And that is something that I can't relate to, and it is something that we find always being the reaction of folks that were just like, us normals are like, what are you talking about, man? Even if you get taxed at 40%, you're a billionaire. Why are you crying about this? Even if you get taxed at 50%, you're a billionaire. And the stance is always like, well, I deserve this. I've earned this. You can't take this away from me. And I'm sure that's how Bryce Harper feels. And you know what? Bryce Harper has probably generated more than the $250 million that he's paid for Philadelphia and their ownership and for Major League Baseball. So, but the fact, it's almost comical to me for somebody like that to just be like, hey, we're going to discuss this salary cap. Why'd you get out of here? Salary cap, how dare you? I want my earnings to be completely unfettered. It's like, well, yeah, we all do. But let's be realistic here. If you're the commissioner, it is in your best interest, and I think by extension, it's in the best interest of players to have every team kind of matter a little bit in Major League Baseball. And the same obviously is true, and the reason why this interests me so much right now, the same is true in college football. The same is true in college sports in general. And we are watching kind of this uncomfortable transition happening at the University of Utah as they try to stay in the same spending category, in the same conversation as some of their peers. The private equity deal, whether anyone's going to admit it or not, whether you get that in the official Utah letterhead or not, the private equity deal is keeping up with the Joneses. That's what it is. It's acknowledging, looking around and saying, you know what, we don't have a Cody Campbell at this university. We don't have a Ryan Smith or a New Skin family or a whoever, right? We've got very generous donors, but we've wrung them dry every single year. And it's not realistic to expect that the Eccles and the Gardners and the Garfs and all these people are just going to be like, yeah, we'll get the checkbook out and we'll keep writing. How much do you need for that quarterback? Okay, here we go. How much do you need for this softball pitcher? All right, here's another $1 million for that. That's what Cody Campbell is doing right now. And if you don't have that, you have to get creative, right? So Utah is trying to keep up with the Joneses in a world where, like, we see it in pro sports. We see who the Joneses are in baseball, right? We know what it looks like. And the Mariners right now, I guess, are the outlier that are spending a, quote-unquote, a nominal amount in order to have a hyper relevant and interesting and competitive team. Everybody else is doing these salary mechanisms with deferred pay, and they're just spending to try to keep their team at the top. And again, that's your right in baseball right now. That is you're okay doing that. And unfortunately, in college sports right now, you are also okay doing that. And I know it's always been that way to some extent, and there was always a loaded deck favoring the SEC because of the $100 handshakes and the $1,000 handshakes and the $1 million handshakes and the bag men. And NIL has leveled it out a little bit temporarily. And when I say a little bit and temporarily, you know exactly what I mean. Yes, it's awesome that we see an expanded college football playoff and more teams getting involved, but the teams that actually have a chance to win it are the same teams that they always were.
The only new one's Indiana, and they happen to reside in the wealthiest conference in the nation right now.
Well, and also they happen to have Mark Cuban.
Yeah, they have the billionaire donor alumni base.
Who is, by the way, a massive sports fan.
Yeah.
Like Mark Cuban, he doesn't have to do the thing because he's older, he's more established, he's had the fame, he's had the power. He doesn't have to do the thing that Cody Campbell relishes. He loves. He's going to be at Big 12 Media Days. Why? You're a booster. Why are you there? Because he wants his photo taken. He wants people asking questions about him. Mark Cuban, he kind of waited until it worked out at Indiana.
Yeah.
And then he was just like, yeah, I paid Fernando Mendoza's NIL deal. And guess what? The check I wrote them after they won a national championship was even bigger. He kind of does that with a half smile on his face because he's Mark Cuban and he doesn't need the notoriety to say it's a little bit more of a quiet thing, but it's the same thing, right? Indiana is a new player because Indiana is playing by the same set of old rules. Oh, we have this massive, and I think Mark Cuban was probably a guy that before the rules allowed it, he wasn't going to get himself involved in that. I could be wrong, but I think the timing of why Indiana suddenly has a bunch of dough has more to do with it being legal now than it being like, oh, yeah, suddenly all of these people that love Indiana athletics got rich.
Yeah, I mentioned this before. I just wonder if that's more the sentiment, that's what more of the Big Ten donor bases, what they're more willing to do. Obviously, they still had their bagmen at places like Ohio State and Michigan over the decades, but it just their rise, their rise above the SEC from second best conference to now clearly the best conference in college athletics suggests to me that they just have their donor bases are like, okay, we weren't completely comfortable getting our hands completely dirty with this. Now that it's legal, all of a sudden we got even more money coming out of the woodwork for those schools.
Look no further than BYU, much to the chagrin of all of you Utah fans out there. There were always going to be schools that when it became legal, they were going to elevate themselves. BYU made me look smart. I predicted that when NIL became a thing. I also predicted Stanford, and I was dead wrong about that because Stanford's alumni base has more money than BYU's. They just care a lot less about sports.
They might as well be in the Ivy League at this point.
And by the way, they don't. At Stanford, there's no ecclesiastical mission attached to it, and not every BYU donor believes in that part of the whole mission. Some of it is just, I love sports. I want my alma mater. I want BYU sports to be a big deal. There's also plenty of people. I've talked to folks who give money to BYU, who are big BYU fans, who are just like, yeah, I feel better giving money to this athletic program because it is a missionary tool. And it's like, well, I mean, most schools in the country, even Notre Dame doesn't really have that front of mind for their donors, right?
That's hard to compete with. Absolutely.
It's impossible to compete with. We've seen how it looks in like the real world when someone is like, yeah, this mission that I'm on is ordained by a higher power. They'll do anything. And that's kind of what's going on in Provo to some minor extent. So again, try to circle back to the main point here. The whole thing with a Major League Baseball salary cap, with a potential college sports salary cap, watch closely how it is reacted to and how it is handled with Major League Baseball. Because if you think Bryce Harper's reaction was kind of funny and an outlier, it's not. That's how everyone is going to react to a Major League Baseball salary cap. And that's how everyone is going to react to a college football salary cap. The athletes, the parents, and by the way, there's no collective bargaining agreement. So the salary cap is going to be this figment of everyone's imagination until it becomes a real pro sports league, which I don't think is in the best interest of the fan. Keep an eye on all these things. Nothing's in a vacuum. It's all intertwined. I could go on forever, but we're going to take a break here. We're going to talk with Gordy Chiesa. NBA Finals matchup is set. Now, Gordy and I have probably spent at least a couple of minutes on every show that we've had together talking about Victor Wembanyama because of the obvious reasons. Now Victor Wembanyama, at 22 years old, has his first opportunity to win an NBA championship. Does he rise to this occasion, or do the New York Knicks find a way? We'll get to all of it with Gordy Chiesa next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Our conversation with Gordy Chiesa is brought to you by our friends at Aladdin Industries. If you're looking for a skylight to add to the home, your Utah Velux dealer is Aladdin Industries. Gordy, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Sean, I'm doing well. Thank you.
We have an NBA Finals matchup set. Game 1 will be tomorrow. You can listen to it right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. New York Knicks, San Antonio Spurs, two franchises that, well, for the Knicks, it's been a long time since they won a title. For the San Antonio Spurs, good things seem to happen to them at least once a decade. But what do you make of the matchup?
Classic, masterpiece. Everyone's ecstatic, including the TV partners. It's two different teams with star players that all play defense, and it's going to be one for the ages. And I want to just illustrate right now how the Knicks were built and how the Spurs were built. Totally opposite, both highly effective. Quickly, I'm just going to mention the key players, how they acquired by the Knicks, and also with the Spurs. During Knickerbockers, free agency, they added Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Landon Shamet, and former Jazz man Jordan Clarkson. Via trades, Knickerbockers, they traded for Karl Anthony Towns, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, Jose Alvarado, Miles McBride, and only one draft pick, and that is Mitchell Robinson, the 36th pick in 2018. So the top 10 players, that's how the Knicks were built. The Spurs, via draft, Keldon Johnson, back in 2019, the 29th pick of the draft. Devin Vassell, the 11th pick of the draft in 2020, which we call the COVID-19 draft. Victor Wembanyama, the first pick in 2023. Stephen Castle, the 4th pick in 2024. Dylan Harper, the 2nd pick in 2025. Carter Bryant, the 14th pick in 2025. So they had 6 guys drafted by the Spurs quickly. Trades, De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes, and 2 guys with free agency, Julian Champagnie and Luke Cornett. So 1 guy picked by the Knicks, 6 guys picked by the home team, the Spurs.
The Knicks are the NBA equivalent of what we're seeing the Los Angeles Rams do right now in NFL football. They're they picked like once in the first round, or I think they've actually picked 4 times in the first round in the last like 15 years, and they're acquiring proven talents instead. So, Gordy, which is a better way? We're supposed to find out through this series, but what do your predictive abilities tell you?
Via draft with the Spurs. But again, with the Spurs, though, they have once-in-a-generational talent in Victor Wembanyama. And so I just find it fascinating that, again, you have to go through the draft, which is long-term success. However, if you get the right guys as far as trades or undervalued guys, be a trade or free agency, that's to add also who you draft, that's also a recipe, a blueprint for a long-term success. So there's really no set way. It's about people and how they play as a unit. And so the Spurs did it via draft, and Jazz basketball, they're trying to attempt to do it via draft with their top draft picks, with a few guys as far as trading and or free agency. Now with the Knickerbockers, they went literally via free agency and trades, and it has worked out for them.
Okay, so the matchup itself, we've got the youth of San Antonio. You just elucidated quite well how they built this roster. With that youth comes like very little playoff experience. However, here they are in the NBA Finals. And, of course, they do have Victor Wembanyama. For the New York Knicks, your coach is more experienced. You've got players who are a little bit more experienced, who've kind of been around the league. They've seen it. They've done it. The X's and O's matchup, how do you coach it? How do you get the most out of each roster, given their strengths and their weaknesses?
Yes. Well, first, it all starts and ends on defense. It's the most amazing thing, Sean. During a regular season, it's a left fest, 3-point shooting, offensive basketball. You get to the postseason, whether it's the NBA or the NFL, defense usually rules, especially in the fourth quarter. So the matchup's going to be classic. Also, Sean, I know you're a southpaw. Is that do you realize that both point guards, starting point guards on each team is left-handed? Jalen Brunson left-handed, and so is De'Aaron Fox. So we have two lefty point guards, which means that, Sean, often they start the offense to the dominant side, which is what? The left side of the floor, versus right-handed point guards, where they start the offense with their natural hand to the right side of the floor.
Is there any advantage or disadvantage to that, Gordy, where, like an opposing team in their defensive set is just a little bit unaccustomed to it? Like, I'm sure they know how to play defense when the offense starts from that. If you're playing defense, it's off to your right.
Yeah, what happens, though, for the catch-and-shoot players, though, they're coming off their natural shoulder to catch and fire. So that's why it's so important to understand that. So catch and shoot fire. So someone like example, Devin Vassell and Julian Champagnie, when those guys come off screening action, their feet are set. And so it's absolutely critical. And that's why those guys, it's an interesting phenomenon that both guys are left-handed. Now, the defense, they're going to adjust to everything. Whether you're right-handed or left-handed, it's irrelevant in that sense. So the question is, as always, the game is won by the margins. So here's the first thing I mentioned to you. Who wins the 50-50 loose ball game? And especially in the fourth quarter. What team is going to be the most aggressive team to go after those loose balls to gain extra possessions? Second question, which team gets the more offensive rebounds? When the defense, Sean, is so fierce and physical that most people shoot erratic, okay? And so now who can get the most offensive rebounds at the most opportune time to get an extra possession, and we call it get a do-over. And the more do-overs you get in a playoff game, the better it is. Next question. Which team shoots more free throws and what percentage? So again, that three-point shot, even though it looks beautiful, the teams that are gritty, they get to the foul line. So Brunson is a natural foul creator. That's the first thing. And so is Victor Wembanyama, because he creates so much havoc in the lane. So it's so interesting. The two best lane players in the game are going to be 6'2", Brunson, and 7'3.5", Victor Wembanyama. So we've never seen this before ever in basketball, where the dominant player in the lane is 6'2", meaning Brunson plays over 2 feet. It's not Karl Anthony Towns, Sean, even though he's 7-footer. He likes to play outside and roam on perimeter. Victor Wembanyama starts outside, but when it's crunch time, he's in the lane doing something, whether it's a lob pass catch and possible a guard. And the next part about it, who can get fourth quarter baskets in the fourth quarter? And that's what makes it so interesting, what team. So, Sean, in the fourth quarter, here's the shooting percentage of the playoffs of these guys in the fourth quarter, this 2026 postseason. Jalen Brunson shooting in the fourth quarter 59.6% from the field. Dylan Harper shooting 58.3% in the fourth quarter. Keldon Johnson shooting 58.1% in the fourth quarter. Victor Wembanyama, where everyone's trying to stop him, is shooting 53.1% in the fourth quarter. And De'Aaron Fox is shooting 50% in the fourth quarter. So there's so many options that team have, and that the team that can be able to slow down the natural scorers are going to win the game. It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be intense. I'm geeked about it, Sean.
So is there a way that New York can somehow mitigate the Victor Wembanyama effect? Do they have the players, the formation, the skill, the experience with their coaching staff to not stop Victor Wembanyama on the offensive or defensive end, but just to slow down his effect, to confuse him when he's on defense, to throw the right bodies at him to make him less of a factor offensively? Or is the cheat code going to come through in these finals?
It'd be hard to stop him. I'm saying that they'll start with Anthony Towns guarding him, but that will affect his offense. Now, Mitchell Robinson broke his pinky finger. They say he's going to play. I'm sure he's going to play. The question is how effective. I'm saying this sounds almost blasphemy, but the best guy to guard Victor Wembanyama is OG Anunoby at 6'7.5", almost like a much bigger version of the Thunder trying to slow down, with Caruso trying to slow down Victor Wembanyama. So don't be surprised if they cross match, and during the course of the game, you see Anunoby trying to go body on body to slow down Victor Wembanyama, either rim running, but also make him hard dribbling the ball on perimeter. Victor plays outside. He has a really great handle for a guy 7'3.5". However, now he's being guarded by somebody with that hand on ball side, will make his dribble much less effective. So they have enough bodies to try to slow him down. I'm saying that the Spurs might slow down Jalen Brunson with Stephen Castle and Devin Vassell getting after Brunson in the lane. That's an interesting factor. Next part of it, can Brunson score when Victor Wembanyama is the help defensive player in the lane? That's the question. So all that footwork dancing by Jalen Brunson, which is spectacular, can he get it up and over help side defense led by Victor Wembanyama? There's so many subplots in this game. It's going to be fascinating, and anybody that's a basketball person, we all can't wait.
A finals game at the Mecca, at the Garden. What is that atmosphere going to be like?
Crazy. That's game 3. Besides New York version of Hollywood Row, there's nothing like it. Again, I know I'm biased. I'm a New Yorker. I've coached in the Garden many a time as a college coach, also with the Utah Jazz, other teams that I coach. There's nothing like it. It's magical. It absolutely is. And you play well in New York. You're known globally. And the NBA Finals. I'll make this point about this. The NBA Finals, really, it is. It's a global stage for players, owners, coaches, executives, referees, and broadcasters. It transcends any individual. It's way beyond just one person. It's everybody involved. There's nothing like it. In jazz basketball, back in 97 and 98, a long, long time ago, I had the privilege to coach in 12 playoff games. It was magical. Now, Sean, speaking of the finals, I just wanted to share with you something, Sean, about memory lane for you, okay? Memory lane. So, Sean, in 1973, okay, the first pick of the draft was Doug Collins, 73. The price of gas was 39 cents a gallon. People like me wore bell-bottoms in 73. The debut of the home video game Pong was in play. The iconic film of that year was American Graffiti. The President of the United States was Richard Nixon. In 2014, which you remember very well, the first pick of the draft was Andrew Wiggins. The price of gas in 2014 was $3.36 a gallon. The thing about 2014 was a ALS Ice Bucket Challenge where they raised $115 million for a worthy cause. Remember that, Sean?
I remember it. Yes, everyone pouring ice buckets over their own head.
Absolutely. The hit song in 2014 was by Pharrell Williams, Happy. The iconic movie was Frozen. And the President of the United States was Barack Obama. So that's how far things change. Knickerbockers won it in 73, and 2014 the Spurs won it. So it's going to be again a fascinating thing, and it's all based on defense. Who can play defense without overly fouling, and who can make clutch plays out of nothing? Usually in playoff games, Sean, especially in the NBA Finals, I call it you score out of chaos. It's not some beautiful set play. It's like the whole game is basically set plays. No different in the NFL, Sean, quarterback, and you've got to make plays with what? Besides your head, with your feet, because the edge rush is so coming at you that you have no time to just let the play develop. You have to make plays yourself.
Gordy, Victor Wembanyama, 22 years old, could lead a team to his first NBA championship. And I was looking at a lot of the all-time greats, a lot of the guys that we say are synonymous with NBA greatness and success. And Magic Johnson was the only guy I could find that was in that age, was younger than that, actually. He was not even 21 years old when he won his first NBA championship. But, guys like LeBron had to wait a little longer. Michael Jordan had to wait until his mid to late 20s. Wilt Chamberlain was like 30 before he did it. I mean, I was looking all these guys up. Larry Bird was 24. If he could be the number one player on a championship team at age 22, what kind of message does that send about the league and his future in it?
That it's a generational, once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon, and that's Victor Wembanyama. Plus, also, he's likable. There was everybody, Sean, that I know that talks about basketball, even the casual fan will say to me, they love Victor Wembanyama. In other words, think about it, Sean, probably your wife, when she watches a game with you and Victor falls to the ground, she says, I hope he gets up right now because I like him too much, right? And that's how people think. He's a likable character, Victor Wembanyama, because people cheer for him and that he has a good personality. And he's almost like a diverse person. He's that European guy that loves basketball but has other interests. You've seen the viral thing where he's playing chess. He's playing chess with people in New York City in the park.
Yeah,
it's unheard of.
And
it's really refreshing.
He's doing he went and studied martial arts with the monks and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, he's a fascinating character. And Gordy, the thing that for me translates so well and makes I don't want to be like cheering for the Spurs because they're going to be a problem for the Utah Jazz for the foreseeable future, but how much he cares, how much he wants to compete, how much he wants to win in a league that I know all the guys want to win. I know that all of them are competitive, but he not only his physical skill rises above, but it seems like his want to and his dedication and his passion for the game are on display every night.
Very much, absolutely. And that helps his teammates. When the main guy is engaged and he's team-orientated, everyone else around him now joins the party in a great way. And that's why that's team building. And you can never underestimate the power of the star player, that he's one of the people versus what? He's elite. So, example, Sean, think about this, where some people in sports have their own locker room where they don't get dressed with the other players on their team. And when teams allow that, whether it's the star quarterback or Chris Paul used to dress in different locker rooms at the end of his career with the Phoenix Suns. And so you can't allow that. You got to be with your teammates in the locker room where everybody's looking at you, that we're going to do this together as a team. And that's what makes Victor Wembanyama so unique. And I'm assuming also, in fairness to the Knickerbockers, all their guys too. That here you are, you're in the biggest city in the world, and suddenly you're thinking about what? Only your teammates. And it gets even, with the Knickerbockers, even more special because there's three guys in Villanova, a Big East type school, where they were college teammates, and now they're in the NBA, and they're trying to win they're trying to add to the legacy of Villanova Wildcats. And most of those guys won 2 NCAA championships. Can they get one in the NBA? So it's going to be one for the ages. This series. I'm taking the Spurs definitely in the first game. I'm taking Spurs in a hard-fought seven-game battle where the Spurs win the championship.
Gordy, before we get to your list, how well did you know Rick Adelman?
Very well. Absolutely. Sean's alluding to Rick Adelman passed away yesterday at age 79. I know him very well. Is that we talked often over the years. He was Jerry Sloan's teammate with the Chicago Bulls back in the mid-'70s. So when we were in summer league, all the times in Las Vegas, we all got together and talked basketball and socialized together. So when he was out of work in between jobs, he used to come to Utah and watch practice. And when I coached the Seattle Sonics, him and the head coach of the Denver Nuggets, his son David Adelman, would come to the Sonics practice and watch us practice, and was a student of the game. So it's unfortunately he passed away. He's in the Hall of Fame. He won 1,042 games, which is absolutely hard to do, and he's in heaven right now, looking down on us.
A great coach. He put certain franchises that are like not the staples, right? He had a lot of success with Portland. He had a lot of success with Sacramento, some of these places. And, that those were fond days for me as an NBA fan before I was in the business, really, where you're just a fan at that point and you're seeing some of these other teams get a little bit of shine, partly because their coach was so great.
Well, think about the Sacramento Kings, is that they struggled for the last 25 years. However, when he coached the Kings, 8 straight years they went to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they were a factor. And back in 2002, Sean, let's go conspiracy theory, because I know you love that, Sean. You love conspiracies.
I love it.
Remember the time when Rob Horry made that jump shot, that three-point shot for the Lakers and gave them a Game 7 championship, where the controversy was there a foul before that they didn't call to help the Lakers versus the Kings didn't get the ball back. And so it just shows you that the Kings are very, very close. And in the early 2000s, they were a powerhouse with the Lakers, who won 3 straight with Kobe in his prime, and Shaq also as a trusted sidekick.
Gordy, what's your list today?
Okay, I'm a list today with the finals, the most career NBA final games by a player. So what players have played the most the final games? I cut it off at top 12. At number 12, tied, Derek Fisher and Tom Sanders played in 43 finals games. 11 all-time. Elgin Baylor and Casey Jones played in 44 final games. Number 10 all-time, Michael Cooper played in 46 finals games. Number 8 all-time, tied, John Havlicek and Frank Ramsey played in 47 final games. Number 7, Magic Johnson played in 50 final games. Number 6 all-time, Tom Heinsohn played in 52 final games. Tied the 4th all-time, Jerry West and LeBron James, they played in 55 final games. Number 3 all-time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played in 56 final games. Number 2 all-time is Sam Jones. He played in 64 final games. And the number 1 player of all time with the most ever final games is Bill Russell. He played in 70 final games, and in the finals, in the 70 games, he averaged for his career 16.4 points per game and 24.5 rebounds in the 70 final games. And with Bill Russell, he won 11 championships in 13 years. Quickly, what about Michael Jordan? He would have played in more, but he retired at a younger age. And Michael Jordan never played ever in a Game 7, in a Game 7. Michael Jordan played in 35 final game appearances. Kobe Bryant played in 37, and Steph Curry and Tim Duncan, they played in 34. So Michael played in 35, and let's say all 35, he was very impactful. Thus, that's my list of today.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Pretty impactful player. Gordy, you're the man. Enjoy Game 1, and obviously we'll chat on Thursday in a recap for that.
Thanks, Sean. Peace out. Stay well.
Gordy Chiesa, our resident NBA insider, guru, and Yoda. Brought to you by our friends at Aladdin Industries. Okay, we're going to double up here. We're going to come back. We'll start hour number 2 with Dunny. Brian Dunseth joins us to talk World Cup and a little RSL. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. World Cup right around the corner. Time to talk a little soccer. Nobody better in this market or any market to talk soccer with than our very own good friend Brian Dunsett. Dunny, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
My man, it's been too long.
It has. It's been way too long. How are things?
Things are good, man. I'm in the final throes of trying to get ready for these next 2 months. I head out on Thursday to Chicago for U.S. Germany. Then I come home for a day, pack my bags, head down to Monterrey, Mexico for 4 games, and then end my World Cup experience out in Philadelphia on July 4th.
Awesome. Did you ever think that this would be a role that you would have for a World Cup? I know that, you had an illustrious playing career and USA hosted back in the early 90s and all that kind of stuff, but, your career has taken off on the broadcasting side of things. Did you ever, in your playing days, think that this would be something that you had an opportunity to do?
No, listen, Sean, I'm glad you brought it up because I was a young kid. I was 16 in 1994 when the Rose Bowl was hosting the U.S. men's national team, and I'd already fallen in love with Tony Meola and Alexi Lalas, Marcelo Balboa, John Harkes, Tab Ramos, Eric Winalda. I was volunteering at the L.A. Convention Center because I couldn't afford tickets at the Rose Bowl. And as a 16-year-old, I'd park my car at the top of the bowl. I'd walk down and I just experienced the game day atmosphere around the Rose Bowl. I came up short as a player. My closest chance was 98 underneath Sampson, where I was one of the alternates. But and even in moments where I thought I was going to be involved in 2018, I kind of felt like the ship had sailed. So to get that email to be a part of the World broadcast was something that I was never expecting. And to your first question, nah, man, listen, the swindle continues. I never thought I'd have the opportunity to stay in the world of soccer. As all sporting.
Oh, we lost Dunny. That sound, boom. That means technology has failed you. We'll get Dunny back on. It's great to hear from him. And look, when you're a player of his caliber, when you're an analyst of his caliber, when you're someone who's a soccer fan of his caliber, I'm not going to pretend that I have like a real understanding of how significant a World Cup on U.S. soil is for the hardest of hardcore soccer fans or the people who helped grow the game here in the United States. And then to be able to work it, I mean, Dunny's one of the best there is. So he's a great dude, and I'm excited that he gets to be on these broadcasts. And we're gonna grab him, we're gonna get him back on. We're reconnecting with him right now. But when he says he's being self-deprecating when he says the swindle continues, because obviously if you've watched any soccer, especially my favorite thing about it is even though you're getting expert analysis, it's not this like talk down condescending. So even the soccer novices like me can understand the point that Dunny's trying to get across. Do you do that on purpose for the low IQ soccer fans like myself, Dunny?
Nothing I do is with intent. Listen, when I started in this business, I started in a pregame, postgame with Spence after my quote unquote career came to an end. And at the time, I realized that when I'd listen to other people talk about soccer and talk about games, there was always something that was missing for me as an analyst. And I was looking for matchups. I was looking for margins. I wanted to understand what was happening to players where they weren't playing, or if they were carrying an injury, or they were in recovery mode, or any of these. And then I dumbed it down to one simple thing. I just acted like I was talking to my wife. I was trying to explain the game to my wife, where I wanted to show her kind of the nuance of the game and, the margins of how slim a win versus a loss is. And at the same time, I wanted to make sure that she was still my wife and I wasn't disrespecting her. And she wanted to continue to spend some time with me. So, yeah, I wanted to make it fun. I mean, I'm fortunate enough during the MLS broadcast on Apple TV that I'm with a guy named Max Brados. I call him Tio Max. We've called probably 600 games together, and always the idea is probably a little bit more like on the Spanish side than the English side, where we're having fun and we're mixing languages, and we want it to be a fun experience to where you're sitting there and you're entertained, but also, if you walk in to grab a beer or you're working on your car in the garage, that you're still like, we're descriptive enough to paint a picture for our listeners to kind of keep an eye on.
Okay, let's get into the roster construction. Obviously, there were a lot of RSL people, a lot of soccer fans in Utah that wanted to see the Moon Man on this U.S. men's national team roster. And when we were having these conversations 6 months ago, it seemed like a foregone conclusion that he would be. And then he's left out of the final selection. Oh, what insight can you give me? What happened?
Yeah, listen, I think it's a competition for spots. And what I've always said is that with Diego, he hasn't done anything wrong. There's not, and again, I've been around this team for the last 3.5 years. I've been around Mauricio Pochettino from the first day that he took over in Austin, two years ago. Diego, the hard part is for guys like Diego, for guys like Diego Luna, for guys like Aiden Morris, is that they, in terms of professionalism, in terms of like human compatibility, they were all there. There was never a step out of bounds. There's nothing malicious. There was never like any like ill intent from anybody involved. And I think it came down to the same conversations that I've been having with everybody about this roster. Is it's not about the best players available. It's about the best group that Mauricio Pochettino and his staff have mulled over, thinking about the opponents, thinking about the referees, thinking about the turnaround time, and trying to do their due diligence with injury concerns. Listen, for Diego, he missed the first game because of the knee injury. And at the end, I think Real Salt Lake and U.S. Soccer were managing whatever, the small niggles that he was dealing with. And if you would have told me before the game against Senegal that in terms of player profile, Alex Zendejas from Club America is the most like for like because they're so similar in terms of their stature, I would have understood it. But then watching the game against Senegal the other night, you start with the 3 in the back system. You switch it to 4 in the back when you bring Zendejas in. You're thinking about guys that are competing with Luna, and those guys are named Christian Pulisic, Gio Reyna, Malik Tillman, Weston McKennie, then Alex Zendejas, and on top of that, you got to think about Brendan Aronson and Timmy Weah. I mean, my math isn't great, but I think that's 8 guys right there for my Cal State Fullerton pass or fail math. I mean, that's a lot of guys in a similar position. So similar to Tanner Tessman and Aiden Morris, when you think about the midfielders of Sebastian Berhalter, of Tyler Adams, of Christian Roldan, of these type of guys, you can only get so many people on the field at one time. So, however, the only way I can articulate it correctly is whatever Mauricio Pochettino and his coaching staff put on their board in terms of preparation and kind of projecting, they felt as though this was the best roster to put together. I feel horrible for Diego. I thought that he had done everything right, especially with the amount of games that Mauricio Pochettino had leaned in on him over the course of 2025. And there's got to be an incredible, source of not only disappointment because something like this happened heading into the Olympics a couple of summers ago into France, but also the embarrassment that comes along with the projection that we all had that he was going to be a major player in this World Cup here in the United States.
Thankfully, he's young, and he will be wearing a men's national team shirt at some point, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, this next cycle, both he and Gozo are going to play a major, major part in what's happening. And in real time for Real Salt Lake, I mean, you talk about those two guys, but then you have Aiden Herzakani, you have Griffin Dillon, you have Luka Moisa. You have a really strong foundational base of players. I mean, even if you think about the guys at the Red Bulls, like guys like Julian Hall, guys like Mamedi, this next generation of players, pretty extensive when we talk about what the next roster is going to look like in September and October ahead of this end of cycle for Mauricio Pochettino and the U.S. men's national team.
You mentioned, you referenced the friendly against Senegal. How much should we be reading into these final friendlies?
So it's the endless debate. I mean, you're never going to see guys play 90 minutes because they're managing, and obviously the fear of injury. We saw that with Scotland with Billy Gilmore going down the other day. We saw it the other night for Canada as Marcelo Flores for Tigres blew his ACL, and he was going to be a starter for Jesse Marsh in Canada. So you're kind of walking, Sean, this really crazy line of how do I figure out my pairs? How do I, in actuality, see the group that I'm putting on the field versus the projection? And then ultimately, how do we get performances and wins? Because that obviously is the first thing that the U.S. soccer fan base is going to moan about over on social media. And then still protect the guys and not give too much away for Paraguay to prep. If I look at that starting 11, I could see 4 changes from the other night. I could see Matt Freese in goal instead of Matt Turner. I think if Chris Richards is healthy, maybe 5 changes. If Chris Richards is healthy, he's starting in that back 3, probably over Mark McKenzie. Weston McKennie in that midfield alongside Tyler Adams, although I thought Sebastian Berhalter was excellent. Tim Weah maybe for Serginho Dest on that right-hand side, and ultimately Flo Balogun instead of Ricardo Pepi. So we saw a little bit of opportunity versus maybe a little bit of dialing in whatever the way the coaches are thinking about for that first game against Paraguay. But this weekend, Saturday afternoon over in Chicago against Germany, I would assume would be as long as he feels comfortable about the fitness and the health of certain players, that'll be the closest to the starting 11 that we would see against Paraguay for the opening game in Los Angeles at SoFi over on June 12th.
There are still tickets available to that game. Obviously, on the resale market, there's always going to be, but official FIFA tickets. There's, it's dumb. Should we worry about that? I mean, like, you want to put your best foot forward as a soccer nation, a host nation, et cetera, and your first home game is not even sold out, a week ahead of time. Are we worried?
Yeah, listen, I get it, and I'm not trying to be an apologist for any of this. Just some clarity. The dynamic pricing that FIFA has really tried to hold on to is for obvious reasons. And listen, we can get into the weeds about the morality of all this stuff, but I don't really think it matters. At the end of the day, FIFA is going to do what every club around the world is doing, of what every, when you go to Disneyland, you're going to Disneyland. You're paying for Disneyland.
I just got back from Disneyland, and yes, what
so you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could get the basic ticket, or you could upgrade to the fast pass for, the whole, for California and Disneyland, and, drop a few more $100. The dynamic pricing is what it is. The secondary market, there's always going to be someone who looks at it as an opportunity to earn monopoly money. Here's what I would say. There's 2 things. The perception about following the U.S. men's national team is different in a moment like this. It's not Copa America. It's not Gold Cup. This is going to be the World Game, which means that there are going to be, fans that aren't U.S. men's national team fans, and they're just football fans. They're soccer fans. They're not for Paraguay. So the stadium is never going to be 100% in favor of the U.S. men's national team, and it's just unfortunately a stark reality. The price gouging, I think, is great when we're talking about all of these hotels that are available, all these buses that are available that are going to charge you like $100 for a one-way trip into the stadium and another $100 a one-way out. Like, it's all BS in the big scheme of things. We understand where we're at in the world in terms of inflation and everything else that comes along with it. But no, I think that we're going to see, as the tournament goes on, more and more of these stadiums where you're not going to be seeing empty seats. You're going to be seeing every human body in these seats, because, the expanded format's going to create a little uncertainty for certain games, but ultimately butts are going to be in seats, because everyone's going to realize that this is the version of the Summer Olympics, the Winter Olympics, the Super Bowl, the NBA Finals, whatever other sporting event you want to add to it. Crunch in a ball, load it up with steroids, and put it on a rocket ship to the moon. Because I think that's how quickly people are going to be like, oh my God, this World Cup is here in the United States. And I think it's going to take over a lot of the water cooler conversations.
Ryan Dunseth, our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. World Cup talk brought to you by Beer Bar, who's going to be helping us cover the World Cup throughout the tournament. They're great. So what is this men's squad truly capable of in this World Cup, on at least partially on home soil?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that in the last 3 World Cups, they've made it to the round of 16. So they've made it, into the knockout rounds. We, as insecure soccer fans here in the United States, are always trying to convert those that aren't fans of the U.S. soccer team to, really buy into what they're doing. This group's got a bunch of great personalities. In the fall, they were in a fantastic run of form, winning 5 of their 6 matches. The March windows, I can explain them, but at times fans don't want to hear the explanation with the substitutions and the tests and the real value in the losses against Belgium and Portugal, both games being played in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. What we saw against Senegal in that first 45 minutes was Christian, Weston, Tyler, all those guys, absolute geo flying. It was the most inspired, urgent type of performance that we've seen in a while. And it was something that I felt like checked the box for alleviating some of the fears of this fan base. Expanded format, again, adds a new round of 32. So one more game to kind of navigate through. I think we'll see some surprises. I think in this group, the U.S. could either find themselves in second or third position, or they could win the group outright. The good news is that they've played all 3 teams within the last calendar year. So they've beaten Australia, they've beaten Paraguay, they lost to Turkey, but if VAR was in that game, they probably would have won that game. So there's a blessing and a curse in the knowledge and experience of having played them. But I think they'll realize that the pressure is on. And I think that they're unlike Copa America, where, Tim Weah's hand gets caught up in the face of an opponent and it's a straight red and all of a sudden the wheels fall off. Those margins of success and failure will be there. But I don't want to be a true Americana homer, but the reality is I am. And I hope all these kids, do what we all do. Is when we start playing, we recognize as little kids, we want to play at the highest level of the sport. That's going to be the World Cup. The fact that they get to do it in the U.S., hopefully these guys, attain the opportunity to etch their name in cement the way that Tony Meola's, the Alexi Lawless's, Marcelo Balboa's, Harksy's, Winalda's, Tab Ramos's, all those guys, they became iconic for a reason. It was because what they did in 1994.
Who's the best team in this tournament? I mean, we would all love to see Team USA win the World Cup. I don't think that is the realistic hope for even the most diehard fans. So who is going to leave North America as World Cup champs?
I'll give you a couple names that I think are going to be the teams to keep an eye on. I think first and foremost, France for me is the favorite as of right now. If you went back to March and you watched them diabolically take apart both Brazil and Colombia, I thought it was a real statement of intent. And I know they lost Liverpool's Ekitike, but they have effectively 5 teams right now. Out of Africa, Senegal and Morocco would be the 2 teams to keep an eye on. Out of South America, we can always talk about Brazil, but I think they're light in a couple of areas. I think Argentina, because of Messi and Messi playing at Inter Miami, is going to be probably the biggest draw. And then you've got to keep an eye on maybe some of the outliers. I would say that Belgium, Portugal, England, and Spain are going to be the ones that I think could make deep runs. But then I would feel like I'm disrespecting a Germany if I didn't point that one of those teams out. I'm intrigued about South Korea. Obviously, Sun Heung-min from LAFC is going to lead the line. They play El Salvador down in Provo, I think tomorrow. They just played the other night and were comfortable in the 5-0 win against Trinidad and Tobago. And then, Canada and Mexico and the United States are the weird ones because of these kind of hosting capabilities. So is there a momentum that they can fabricate because of the home field advantage? I would say those are kind of the teams that I'm keeping my eyes on, that I would say that if you're a neutral and you have no skin in the game, at least you'll enjoy that style of play. But I think there's going to be, some great games, some games that I'm a part of, where it's like Sweden against Tunisia, South Africa against South Korea. What does this look like for Holland during these World Cups? There's just so many good teams, but the good teams from the elite teams, I'll say it's just going to be about the margins of victory, along with the good old referee and VAR involvement.
Well, that was going to be my final question for you. There's, we talk about, we're in the NBA finals right now. You talk about playoff basketball stylistically is very different than regular season basketball. Hockey, maybe more so than anything else. Yeah. Stylistically, World Cup soccer versus obviously MLS is very different, but even, Champions League or what these guys are more accustomed to playing at the elite levels in Europe. Is there a marked change in the style of World Cup soccer versus every other product?
It depends on the teams, and it really does depend on the matchup. I mean, we just saw that in the Champions League final this weekend between Arsenal and PSG, two very different approaches for the interpretation of how they want to play. What I would say is that the outlier teams, the teams where you're talking about Curacao, or you're talking about Haiti, or you're talking about Cape Verde, or teams like that, there will be a very defensive approach for them to survive, because the margins of survival for those smaller countries are usually going to be about goal differential. How can they get a draw? How can they minimize, lose 1-0 as opposed to losing, 5-2? Because the goal differential will have a huge say in who will go on in second place and who will go on in third place. And if you go on in third place, you're going to, be dealing with the heavyweights, the Argentinas and the Frances and those type, as opposed to maybe if you get a second place team, you're dealing with a Japan or a South Korea. So the margins are going to be incredibly slim. And on top of that, man, the reality is it's the end of a really long season on top of last summer's FIFA Club World Cup. So you have so many games. So the physical fatigue will be there. The mental fatigue will not be there. And then, by the way, you got these weird stories that'll pop up during the tournament, and it'll have nothing to do with anything on the field. It'll be off the field. It could be, marriages crumbling. It could be, kids being born, or it could be, grandparents dying. You just don't know what's happening behind the scenes with these guys when we just dumb it down to like the human being nature of being involved in a tournament where they're away from their families for the better part of another 30 days. So some of the outliers to think about, and we'll see how it all plays out.
Dunny, I very much look forward to picking your brain throughout the World Cup, and appreciate your time today. Thanks for joining me.
As always, my man. Great to catch up with you.
That is Brian Dunseth. We will have the U.S. versus Germany friendly that's coming up right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Coverage starts at 12:15 on Saturday. Last friendly before the World Cup, and then, of course, we're off and running. And, yeah, there are tickets available for USA Paraguay, as we discussed a little bit earlier in the show. If you want to get to a World Cup game, I don't know when the next one in our lifetime is going to roll around. And, yeah, you got to pay the price to live in paradise, as they say. It is going to be expensive to get to these games.
I love the way that Dunny put that. He compared it to, you're going to pay for an experience to go to Disneyland. You're going to pay for going to Disneyland. It pay for the price of going to paradise.
And by the way, I will say this. We have been duped. I'm as big a Disney fan as like it's acceptable for a 42-year-old father of three to be. I enjoy watching Disney movies. Don't get into all the political weird stuff that they're trying to do with some of their products. But like, I love Disney songs. It's the most adorable thing in the world, the way that the kids interact with the characters at Disneyland, all of it, right? Walking into the Star Wars, I'm just like, I'm a total nerd for that stuff. It is great. It's a wonderful experience. But the fact that, especially here in Utah, you've been duped into believing that you have to do it like once a year or multiple times a year or whatever, you don't. You don't. It should be, it's not going to be, but it should be for my kids like a once, maybe twice in their young childhood. And then you're just like, hey, remember that trip to Disneyland? I went to Disney World when I was 6 years old because my dad had like a work conference in Orlando and they decided to make it a thing. I didn't go again until I was like 25. I still remembered the 6-year-old trip, right?
Yeah.
My kids have been to Disney 4 times already. You know how expensive that crap is? What am I doing? What are we doing? You don't have to go that often.
Yeah.
Although I do love the turkey legs. If somebody would just make
The
it
churros.
if somebody would just make it so I didn't have to spend $200 to get into the place where I buy a $15 turkey leg, just bring me the turkey leg.
Can we DoorDash the turkey leg?
You know how
Disneyland?
cool that would be?
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
And look, it's magical there. It is. There's like, they really dupe you. They get you because they've got the products in the stores that you can only get when you're at the park. You can't get them elsewhere. I guess if you go on eBay, you might be able to on the secondhand market. But, man, they get you.
Yeah.
And the World Cup, I would say, for me, for the sports fan, feels like, even though I've never been to a World Cup game, feels like it would be a much more worthwhile expenditure if you have that money, right? When I go to Disney, I'm glad my kids have fun, but I cannot help but be like, why did I just spend $3,000 on that? That drives me nuts, you know?
And you have fun while you're there too.
And it's not like I'm just being a grump and hating it. I'm like, oh, that's so cute. Oh, look, Chewbacca. Like, oh, this is wonderful.
It's afterwards.
And then you're just like, oh my gosh. If you could tell me, hey, you got your whatever, your $3,000 to $5,000, you're going to spend it on a trip to Disney, or you're going to spend it on, a pair of tickets to a World Cup soccer game to see Team USA on American soil, I'd probably be like, yeah.
Do the soccer.
I'll do the soccer. And I'm not even the soccer guy.
Yeah. No, that's the power of this event, though. Like, me and you, not soccer people, but there's the fact that it's the biggest sporting event in the world by far, and also just the patriotism of it.
Yeah.
I have always been into U.S. men's national team in World Cup years, not necessarily the friendlies in the years before, in the lead up, and a little bit of the other national tournaments that go on in non-World Cup years, a little bit into that too. But I've always been into the U.S. men's national team soccer in the World Cup because it feels like we're one as a nation pulling for our team. You don't have to be a soccer fan to feel the greatness of that, which is why I'm looking forward to this World Cup being on North American soil.
I am bummed that like that whole patriotism, that USA first kind of thing that we got with the hockey team's run to a gold medal, it's probably going to end in the round of 16 here.
Yeah,
but
still going to be fun.
Still going to be fun. You never know. Big thanks to Dunny and to Beer Bar for making those conversations possible. We'll be checking in with our soccer insiders and experts throughout the World Cup and in the lead up.
We won't, just a point of clarification, we won't have World Cup games on this station, but since we're a Westwood One affiliate, they're your home of U.S. soccer in everything but World Cup. That's why we've got Saturday's friendly against Germany, which should be a really good one. Germany, obviously a big soccer nation, should be a really good last tune-up for Team USA heading to the World Cup.
All right, Daily Dump is coming next. The Women's College World Series has given us one of the most impressive athletic feats we've seen recently, and perhaps the strangest sports superstition you've ever heard. We'll get to that in the Daily Dump on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They can take care of almost anything you need at your home. Plumbing issue, truck with the duck. Trying to get that furnace dialed in so that when you fire it back up during the fall, it's not smoking and puffing and making weird smells. The truck with the duck can handle that as well. And, of course, if you need help with your air conditioner, maybe you need a new one installed, maybe you're converting from an old swamp cooler, Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. valleyplumbing.com for the website. This is really unique to women's sports, obviously, but it is worth noting and is impressive, especially if you have children and you have been involved in the process of, having a pregnant spouse, or you yourself have been pregnant. You would know how much better than I would how impressive this is, but Nebraska has an ace pitcher in the Women's College World Series. Her name, Jordy Fromm. She pitched a no-hitter, a shutout, over 6 innings in this World Series. Nebraska was eliminated, and then her next social media post on Instagram was an announcement that she is expecting, that she's pregnant. Her and her husband, who's a former Nebraska baseball player, announced the cute little, it's cowboy boots, dad cowboy boots, mom cowboy boots, and then baby-size cowboy boots, Baby is due, apparently, December 2026. Trey and Jordy are expecting. Why is this so noteworthy? Why is this so impressive? Well, because she pitched in the Women's College World Series while pregnant, and I'm not great with math, but this would suggest the first trimester, which, again, there's a lot of morning sickness sometimes. It can be one of the more demanding and grueling portions of the pregnancy, especially for a first-time mom, and no big deal. She still went out there and pitched for Nebraska as their ace. They lost 3-1 to the reigning champions, Texas, in an elimination game. But shortly after, on Monday, announced that she pitched while pregnant. This is impressive. We saw Serena Williams win a tournament playing tennis while pregnant. Again, I've never done it. I've never been pregnant. But when you are pregnancy adjacent and you see how demanding it is on a woman's body and how tiring it can be, the fact that she just went out there, no big deal, and was pitching in high-stakes games for Nebraska, incredibly impressive for me. What a performance by Jordy.
I've said this before about Serena Williams' run to the U.S. Open final after she had a very tough pregnancy with her first child. What was that, 2017? After that, we should have stopped talking about how great Michael Jordan was in the flu game. Seriously. And this is, like you said, we don't know what she's experiencing in the in her first trimester, Jordy Fromm, this Nebraska pitcher. But generally, it's not a good time for the woman who's pregnant there, and she pitching a shutout in the College World Series. Michael Jordan wishes he could do that.
Pretty amazing. And congrats to them. Having a kid is the greatest thing on the planet. So I feel bad for the softball, because now softball's not going to seem as cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Women's College World Series, you get some absolute gems during these broadcasts when you get the human interest pieces, the stories around people. I'm not gonna tell this story. Well, I'm gonna expound on it, but I'm gonna let Holly Rowe tell the story first.
I have some sources in the Texas dugout who have given me an incredible story on Hannah Wells. She has a superstition dating back to childhood that if she sees a ladybug, she eats it for good luck, swallows it whole.
What?
And so I was told that at the SEC tournament in Kentucky, she had a nice home run and she had ingested a ladybug before that. So this is a superstition. I have this on 2 different sources in that Texas dugout. What a cute and weird superstition.
It doesn't have to be cute, Holly. It's just weird. Hannah Wells of Texas eats ladybugs for good luck. What? First of all, why are you eating ladybugs? Ladybugs are our friends.
Yeah, they are very nice creatures. Okay,
they're pest control bugs. They eat the aphids off of your flowers and things like that.
Yeah,
ladybugs are awesome.
They're also there's some meaning behind it for like they're omens for good things are going to happen to you or your family's going to expand kind of thing. I've learned this recently. So like we don't need to eat them. But hey, I guess it works for her. She hit a home run after she ate one recently.
I mean, crazy.
And also, shout out to Holly Rowe, former Ute. Love her. I'm with you. We don't have to say it's cute. It's just weird. It's just weird and kind of unnecessary.
Well, the thing is, if ladybugs are your good luck charm, that is cute.
Just seeing them, I'm gonna do something good because I saw a ladybug.
Every time I pick up a ladybug, something good happens for me.
Yeah,
it's like,
cute.
oh, cool. When you decide to eat it, you take away the cute.
It's just weird.
It's like, oh, look, a squirrel. They're cute. Oh no! Why did you do that? Poor ladybugs.
Her parents, when she first started eating ladybugs, however young she was, as a cute little kid, no doubt. They probably had that first reaction like, oh, no, did you just eat the ladybug?
And
she just kept it going.
It's a very summertime radio thing, but, this is – you come up with these sports superstitions that people get very weird about, right? I was like, okay, let me just remind myself of some weird sports superstitions that people have had. And there's just so many.
It goes well beyond I wear the same underwear every game. I don't wash it. I don't wash my underwear. I keep wearing it every game. That kind of gross stuff. It goes well beyond that.
Ed Belfour used to never wash his NHL gear, which stanky, man. That's gross. The aforementioned Serena Williams would wear the same pair of unwashed socks throughout an entire tournament.
Yeah.
Also gross.
That gets itchy.
Wade Boggs, he made sure to eat chicken before every single game, and he took exactly 150 ground balls, not one more, not one less.
Okay.
Patrick Waugh would have full-fledged conversations with his goalposts, thanking them for when they deflected pucks. Okay.
I love that.
This is a gross one. Moises Alou.
Oh, yeah.
Used to pee on his own hands.
Yep. Remember this story? Former Chicago Cubs great Moises Alou. Make some noises for Moises.
Gross.
Yeah, that I learned was a not uncommon practice among baseball players at one point because they thought it helped you grip the bat better. You didn't have to wear gloves necessarily. Really gross.
I guess I was guilty of one of the gross things. I didn't feel like it was a superstition thing as much as it just was like, maybe it was because part of your game day attire is very much part of your routine. But, everyone chooses what they're going to wear underneath their football pads.
Yeah. Some
guys do like the weird baggy shirt thing, which I don't know how you do that. It's the craziest thing in the world to me when like, especially a freak athlete, like the really smooth guys are wearing like a hoodie underneath their pads or they're wearing a loose long sleeve shirt. Like, doesn't Jalen Johnson do this?
Possibly. The one I can think of, Jamison Williams has a weird undershirt coming out of his pads that's like a loose, the sleeve only goes down to his elbow, so it's longer than a short sleeve, but not a full long sleeve.
It's like a baseball tee. You're like, why are you doing that?
It looks strange.
It looks odd, right?
Yeah.
Most guys wear just like the Under Armour or whatever. I would not wear anything. So my pads were actually on skin, which is gross because then your sweat is just going straight into the pads.
They're sticking to you?
Oh.
Was it uncomfortable?
No, I preferred it. I don't know why.
This,
I don't know why.
You did this like not just in high school, like
All the way through.
All the way through.
No matter the temperature, no matter the situation, always just on skin.
What's a weird MMA uniform thing? Because obviously you're just wearing trunks, right?
Yeah, you're just wearing trunks. So there's a guy who just fought for us in the PFL, Benson Henderson. He's past his prime now. When he's a former UFC champion, and he had one of the weirdest things in the world. He would fight with a toothpick in his mouth.
Oh.
Like he's wearing a mouthpiece, and he would have a toothpick, and I guess his mouth is exactly the right width to where he could put the toothpick sideways on like the roof of his mouth. But then he would like be sitting in the corner between rounds, and he'd pop it out and just have it. It was very odd. So that's one of the most iconic and strange things. We had a guy in the last PFL fight who didn't wear his mouthpiece. That's just a dumb uniform thing. The referee doesn't let you get into the cage. There's an inspector at the stairs, and you have to knock on your groin protector to show them that you're wearing a cup. You have to smile with your mouthpiece in, and then they inspect your gloves to make sure you don't have any like razor blades in there or whatever.
Something terrible, yeah.
And it's a ritual. It's a process that every fight goes through. This dude, mouthpiece in, here's my mouthpiece. He gets into the cage, he takes the mouthpiece out, and he hands it to his coach.
So that's the loophole. You just have to have it on when they inspect you?
Some referees will double check. And obviously with him, you need to triple check. But what the hell?
That's crazy.
I was like, why are you not wearing a mouthpiece? That's just dumb.
That's crazy.
There's also a guy who used to fake that he was wearing a cup.
Oh.
Again, why?
Yeah, don't you want to have your mouth and that area fully protected?
It's just like when you talk about the two parts of your body that you don't want to have, it's like, well, there's three. You don't want your eyes to get compromised, like your vision, right? You don't want your teeth to get knocked out, completely messed up. And you certainly don't want the family jewels to be compromised. And this dude,
you guys are just crazy.
I actually kind of know him pretty well. But because the universal test is you stand there in front of the referee and you knock on the protector, right? But they're not always paying close attention. So he would just knock on like his own pelvic bone right above. And so they just assumed he was doing that.
Oh, no.
On a cup. They're not like reaching down to test themselves, and they're not listening closely. Oh,
that doesn't sound like a cup to me.
That hollow sound. No, it was just like, so he would just fake it. What are you doing?
That's so weird.
Also, public service announcement. Don't eat ladybugs, kids.
Yeah.
Hannah Wells of Texas. Why are you eating ladybugs, all right? There's some strange sports superstitions. This one you put in the notes. The WWE Uso brothers, who are very, very famous. They're a big deal. Apparently, their younger brother, little brother, Samson Fatu, is going to Weber State.
Yeah. Great.
Coach Care. Genius move.
Yeah.
It really is, though.
Their father, Rikishi, that was his wrestling name. He, a high-profile wrestling guy in his day, for sure. He broke the news on his Instagram and Facebook. So shout out to the Uso brothers, Samson, Fatu, the whole Fatu family.
So for places like Weber State, right? You're not competing on the NIL front in a traditional sense. You're like this kind of stuff. If you could pull it off, this is actually pretty neat, because if you get just like a couple of photos of international WWE superstars maybe supporting their brother or wearing some Weber State gear or whatever, it's like kind of a win.
It's great marketing, yeah.
It's kind of cool. Good for you. Good for Weber State. Good for Samson Fatu. You get to go play some college football.
You wanna Should we leave time to talk about the treasure hunt for next segment? Or you want to talk about it now?
I want to talk about one more thing
Okay.
here because we mentioned it in the first segment. Steph Curry he's ending his shoe free agency. He has signed with a Chinese shoe brand called Li Ning. They've got the Dwayne Wade shoes. They've got the Jimmy Butler shoes. The deal is allegedly 10 years for over $1 billion. And he gets to have his own golf brand. They're doing a Curry brand. He gets his own. It's like Jordan has his own stores, his own thing. They're doing that with Curry. And he will be able to sign other athletes under the Curry brand through Li Ning. It's very, very similar to the Nike is the parent company of Jordan brand kind of model.
I love that model, yeah.
And it's cool. Now, the design of Li Ning is not really my aesthetic. You'd have to pay me $1 billion to wear these dang shoes. They're hideous. But this is groundbreaking. It is landmark. It is Steph Curry in his late 30s cashing another $1 billion payday because of who he is as a basketball player. This guy goes into the first ballot Sports Business Hall of Fame with what he's done, not only with his Under Armour deal, with his contracts with the Warriors, with everything he and his wife have built from a brand perspective, but now him signing with Li Ning as a Chinese shoe brand that will be the official signature shoe of Steph Curry and a whole line of products beyond that. Pretty impressive. All right, we are going to take a quick break.
We need Lauri Markkanen's help, and so do a lot of people in the world.
Get Lauri Markkanen on the phone. If you can't find him, former Utah Mammoth man Oli Mata. We need a Finnish person to help us. I'll tell you why next. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, this is a wild story that it's not really sports. It's sports adjacent, okay? There's a place in Finland called Levy. They're inviting tourists, you, me, whoever, to come on a $23,000 bar of gold treasure hunt. It's called the Midnight Sun Hunt, and it's up in the Lapland of Finland, okay? Above the Arctic Circle, in the summertime, the sun does not go down. Land of the Midnight Sun. On June 18th, you're going to start receiving clues to where the treasure is, and then the last clue will be given on August 22nd. No rules on when you can find the gold as long as it's after June 18th. So, we need some Finnish experts here, okay? I need Lowry Markkinen. I need somebody in the Markkinen clan to be like, yeah, I'll help you find this thing. Because if you are a random American, a lot of these clues are going to be useless to you. Unless Lowry's just like, oh, yeah. Now, Finland is a massive country, so
he may not know anything about
He may
Lapland.
never have been to Lapland. We have no idea. But Finland also home to a lot of really cool and distinct dog breeds, which would be fun to go see. You're almost certain to see reindeer while you're up there. All right? If your kids are a big fan of the Frozen franchise, the North Ultra people are at least partially based off of the indigenous folks of northern Scandinavia. So let's go.
You might even run into Santa Claus while you're up there. You're that high up.
Finding a single bar of gold in the random expanse of Finnish Lapland it's a needle in a haystack kind of a thing.
This is an awesome marketing tool. It's visit Levi, visit Levy, however it's pronounced in Finland. Their tourism bureau that's come up with this treasure hunt. Brilliant marketing. I hope that they get what they expect out of this. Countless numbers of people from around the world going on this treasure hunt, and whoever finds this, like $23,000. Are you serious? Like that's a lot of money, even if you had to spend, however much you needed to spend to get to Finland and stay there.
Have you ever seen the movie Sisu?
No.
It's cool.
Is it a good one?
It's about it's the tail end of World War II. It's about a Finnish gold prospector guy who has to basically keep the Nazis from stealing his gold, and it's just a wild ride. It's like a John Wick sort of level of superfluous violence.
Sounds amazing.
But in Finnish Lapland. So maybe we could go do a little Sisu thing.
Little research project, watch the movie. Oh, okay, maybe it's there.
Anyway, Finland.
You're
on deck. Lowry Markkinen. Let's make it a buddy comedy. Let's do a bros trip. We'll go out there, and if we find the gold, we can split it, I guess. One half bar of gold each.
Yeah, our buddy Eric Walden, former Jazz beat writer, he visited Lowry in Finland a few years ago when he was still on the Jazz beat. Maybe Walden has some knowledge. I don't know.
Get Lowry on the phone.
Calling him now.
Okay.
Tell me everything you know about the Finnish Lapland.
June 18th, you got nothing better to do. The last clue is going to be given on August 22nd. I wonder if it's like more and more obvious where the clue on August 22nd.
That's what the press release, the Visit Levi press release that I'm on a list for some reason. That's what it suggested, that it will get easier with each clue, because they want this bar of gold to be found eventually. They don't want to have all these people come and then, oh, no one ever found it.
It would be a pretty epic adventure.
Yeah.
I've
Sounds
never
like
been-
right up your alley.
I've
OC.
never been to a place where the sun doesn't go down. I've never been north of the Arctic Circle. I would like to experience that at some point in my life.
And this press release also said that they get the majority of their tourists come in the wintertime because there's great skiing. There you get the northern lights. But summer, it's also beautiful. There's lots of trails and stuff. So this seems to be like an adventure to be like, we need more people to come. We need to show more of the world how great we are in the summer too.
All right, so we'll do a World Cup game from L.A., and then we'll fly straight
Hop on
from
a
there.
flight.
Straight from there to Finland. We'll come back with a bar of gold, some great pictures with Lowry Markkinen, and a Karelian bear dog puppy. Look it up. They're awesome dogs. And ones you probably haven't seen before.
Maybe a picture of us riding a reindeer too.
Why not?
Yeah.
All right, we got to take a break. Tom Callahan joins us next to preview Stanley Cup Final, Game 1. Tonight, you can listen to it right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Welcome in Tom Callahan, NHL insider, friend of the program, as we get ready for Stanley Cup Final Game 1. Can't believe this season is winding down to a close, but not until we figure out who will hoist Lord Stanley's Cup. Game 1 can be heard tonight on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Puck drops right after 6. Tom Callahan, welcome back. How are you, sir?
Doing well and pretty excited. And like you, I am shocked that this is the end of the hockey season. It's crazy.
Yeah, we're almost there, which is doesn't feel like a good thing. You know, we're finally on this hockey bandwagon officially in Salt Lake City, and then we'll have to wait and see how things play out in an off season. And I guess Mammoth fans are champing at the bit to see what next year looks like after the first foray into the playoffs. And here we are watching the team that eliminated you, the team that you gave a really good series to, and could that series with a different result in Game 4. It could have been very, very different, but they are contending for a cup, and I think in a lot of people's mind they are on their way to winning another Stanley Cup. But Vegas versus Carolina, we'll start on the Vegas side of things. In your mind, what's going to be the key for them to not only take Game 1, but to set the tone for this series?
You know, to your point, and just to talk about Utah fans for a second here, I mean, really, think about it. Utah's the team that's given Vegas the most trouble so far for a couple of reasons. And this is what Carolina's going to bring to the table against Vegas is they have the ability to use speed. They can forecheck, and when they do, they're very effective with it. Same thing with Utah. When Utah was using its speed, when Utah was forechecking aggressively, Vegas had some issues with it. And so for Vegas, to me, it's a lot of can they handle what Carolina is going to throw at them. And I don't mean that from a standpoint of maturity. I think both of these teams have plenty of veteran presence. I think a lot of them have seen the elephant before, and I'm not too concerned about it. Although you do wonder, Tortorella coming in as the new Vegas coach, he obviously jump-started that team. He put some electricity into that room, got them going. And now you've got a guy in, Mitch Marner or Jack Eichel. You want to see how they're going to do, but especially Marner, right? He has been the key to Vegas' success in the playoffs so far. Vegas has a core of guys who've won a Stanley Cup now, and this is their third appearance in the finals in 9 seasons that they've been around. So it's a pretty impressive record. They've won one of those 3. They'd love to make it 2 out of 3, but really the X factor guy is Mitch Marner. He's had an excellent playoffs. And believe me, people in Toronto have been kind of crusty about it. But he's excelled. He's excelled in the desert. He's done really well for himself. And I think that for Vegas to succeed, he's got to be their best player once again in this series. And that is no ifs, ands, or buts.
Which of these two teams is deeper? We saw Carolina take advantage of some of their fourth line production in the Eastern Conference semifinals, and I think that the depth of this Vegas team, especially against a banged-up and injured Colorado Avalanche squad, helped them get through to this final. So when you look at this matchup, who do you believe in further down the line?
I like Carolina a little bit better. I think, again, the playoff pedigree here, it's been a while since the Hurricanes have lifted a cup, and now they have a coach who knows what it's like, but he was a player last time it happened. So I think that edge goes to Vegas and experience, but I really do like Carolina's lineup. And they do it with a bunch of guys who might not be household names, but are very effective. They are very deep throughout this lineup on defense, at forward. They've also done it with, a goaltender that I think a lot of people, myself included, didn't think had this kind of a run in him, but also Freddie Anderson, who's a veteran guy. And number one, has been calm when he's been called upon, but he hasn't even been called upon that much. And I think the buy-in from Carolina, top to bottom, playing their system, is what has really enabled their playoff success. And I believe that every player on this roster plays the way Rod Brindamore wants them to play. And they do it every single night, and they are seeing the results. So I do like Carolina from that standpoint. Not that Vegas is a slouch in this department. I think both of these teams are very good, but really the secondary scoring, the scoring from the blue line could make a difference in this series. And I mean, honestly, I'm not jumping the gun here to say I don't know who's going to win, but man, this is going 7. I don't see any other way because these two teams are going to just be going at it hammer and tong.
When we talked about this already with the couple of series, going so smoothly for the Hurricanes, and they got a little stiffer test from Montreal, but they haven't had to play as much playoff hockey as Vegas has, or as much as most teams that make it to this point in the Stanley Cup playoffs have. Is that a significant advantage for them, knowing that at this point in the year, nobody's 100% healthy, nobody's 100% fresh? They've had more rest, and they've played less hockey, which, of course, fewer opportunities to get those bang-up injuries.
Yeah, that is part of it, right? And we discussed, as we have actually a couple times, not only during the playoffs, but even after the Olympic break, what is that rest versus rust argument? How much is too much? And I honestly thought Carolina was going to have more of a problem with it, but they haven't. It seemed to have played right into their hands. They have found a way to come out, keep their momentum high, and just really come out and play their best possible game. The flip side of that for me is that Vegas is have they faced a little more adversity? I think so, at least as far as the number of games they've had to play. But I don't think that Montreal was easy. I think some people have kind of almost dismissed Carolina's path to the Stanley Cup, saying, well, Ottawa was easy, Philly was easy, Montreal, I mean, nobody even had Montreal on the radar. Montreal was a really, really stiff test for Carolina, and it was a difficult series, but Carolina happened to come out on top. And so, to me, I think that just says how well they're playing. And, as far as rest versus rust, I honestly believe Carolina hasn't been affected by it. So, does Vegas have any kind of edge for having had to play a few more games? Not necessarily.
Whose goalie's hotter going into this series?
Oh, well, I talked about Anderson a minute ago there and said he really hasn't been called upon that much, so it's hard to say he's hot. He's been good. I think Carter Hart has had to make some of the bigger saves. I think he's been called upon a little bit more. Probably if you wanted to talk about a guy hot for many, many reasons. There's a lot of storylines following Carter Hart throughout this playoffs, but Anderson just hasn't had to do much. And his team has been taking care of him. And when he has, he's come up with some big saves, don't get me wrong. But I really feel like the goaltender who, if you're shining a spotlight on one guy coming into the final, it's probably on the Vegas side with Hart.
We by the end of these playoffs, we got to decide who the MVP of the playoffs are. And that person, of course, gets to add a Conn Smythe award to their resume. A lot of the guys in this series, of course, you can make a case for, but is it Mitch Marner's award to lose at this point?
It does feel that way, doesn't it? It does feel that way. He's really probably been the most impactful guy in either conference as far as the team winning and losing, the points he's been putting up, just showing up in all, facets of the game for Vegas. I think that the Golden Knights have really loved having him emerge as a playoff performer, and they've really needed it. And he's done a great job. I mean, yes, there are other players we can talk about on both sides. And of course, if Carolina wins, I think Logan Stankoven's probably all of a sudden at the front of the conversation, a guy who most people, unless you were a Carolina fan, didn't even know before the playoffs. But at this point, I really do think you're right. I think Mitch Marner is the guy right now.
And if he can pull that off, what kind of redemption story are we looking at here? Because he was really, even his teammates have come to his defense and said he was not treated fairly. He was blamed for a lot of Toronto problems that weren't really about him. He has acknowledged that, it's better for him in Vegas than it was in Toronto. Maybe the fit is better, whatever. But if he can pull this off, and he probably is, a Stanley Cup champion if he ends up with the Conn Smythe, although you could win it without also being a champion. What kind of redemption arc are we really talking about with Mitch Marner here?
It won't be too much of a surprise to the league outside of Toronto, I don't think, because he's always been an exceptional player. The surprise may be the level he's played to in the playoffs, because I think a lot of the criticism around him was fairly or unfairly. I mean, Marner and Matthews were inseparable as far as these guys should carry the Leafs. These guys should be able to just pick them up and get them to the Stanley Cup final all by themselves. Carolina is showing that that doesn't work in the East. It's a team game, and everybody needs to be pulling equally on the rope. I think Marner has come over to Vegas, and remember, he didn't even necessarily get the jump start I think everybody thought he might getting into the playoffs. But, I mean, 21 points now, and he's distributed well. He's got 14 assists. He's putting up points in the power play, which is huge for them. He's got 4 shorthanded points, which is crazy, and all those are assists. But that also tells you that he's playing big minutes on the penalty kill. And for him to be able to do this, and even if they don't win, even if they get swept by Carolina, Mitch Marner has already silenced the critics, in my opinion. I think he has shown this is the guy who he's always been. This is the player that maybe the pressure in the market of Toronto did get to him. Maybe he wasn't properly supported. Maybe they weren't using him the right way, or there was just too much pressure. But in Vegas, he has been thriving. And I think that for him, win or lose the Stanley Cup final, he's already got his redemption.
Tom Callahan, our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking the upcoming start of a Stanley Cup final. You can listen to Game 1 right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM tonight. Tom is, of course, also the host of Locked On Mammoth, Mammoth Insider, NHL Insider. I don't know that John Tortorella needs any boost to his reputation in NHL circles, but if he can take over 8 games before the end of a regular season and then lead this Vegas Knights team all the way to a Stanley Cup, what does it do for him?
It would just make him laugh, honestly. I mean, he's just laughing at everybody else at this point, because for all the guff that has been given to John Tortorella over the years, he did win a cup with Tampa Bay, but it's been a while. But he has taken teams in the past and turned them around. And it's almost funny, everybody hates how honest he can be. Whether you agree with his opinion or not, number one, it's never boring. Number two, he basically called out the Flyers and said, "I can't coach this team, and I don't think this isn't the team that's going to win." And no one else has been able to really, turn them around. And all of a sudden, he goes into Vegas, and really with a TV analyst the week before. But he doesn't lose his coaching chops. He goes in, he gives this team a boost of energy. He asks a lot of his players, but he will also go and stand behind his players. He will back them up 100% as long as they give him the effort. He is a coach that, believe it or not, I think guys want to play for unless they get in the doghouse. And if you get in the doghouse, it's kind of hard to get out. But for the most part, with the success he's having right now, I think that, no, he doesn't need another Stanley Cup, but I could easily see him getting it. And I love Torts. I absolutely love, just from the media perspective, he's a lot of fun. And I think it's wildly entertaining to have him over there coaching Vegas and seeing the success he is.
How much of a copycat league is the NHL? Like, the NFL is a notorious copycat league where you see somebody have success with something and half the teams in the league try to jump on that bandwagon and follow that exact same model. I don't know if you can do that right now in the NBA and try to follow the Spurs, because 7'5" aliens don't grow on trees, but that's another conversation. If either of these teams, hoist the cup, is a bunch of the other franchises going to say, all right, how did Vegas do it? Let's also do that. How did Carolina do it? Let's also do that. And are either team, distinct enough in their approach that you would have to even adjust anything from what you're already doing for, like, the Mammoth, for example?
I love the quote about Carolina, and they're basically saying they haven't changed the way they played in 8 years. Since Rob Brindamore has been the coach of this team, they've played the exact same game. And it's not catching anybody by surprise, but they play hard. They go at it. And it's, if you believe that hard work brings results, this is the absolute model for that. What they've done is they have drafted into a mode of player, and they've signed into a mode of player that fits the kind of hardworking, scrappy game they want to play. And they have executed that to a T, and they have the guys that are bought in. That is the Carolina model. And if you're going there, you know what you're getting into. And with Vegas, you know that the expectation there is nothing less than a Stanley Cup. They are absolutely only in it to win it every single season. And they are cutthroat about it. So if you go to Vegas, you know that you better bring your A game. The pressure will be there to perform, or they'll just get rid of you. They will fire the coach right before the end of the regular season. They will trade players whether they're popular or not. They will make the unpopular decision to sign Carter Hart. And they don't care because they feel like it gives them the best chance to win. That is all that matters to Vegas. So that's what that's what the blueprint is there. So it's kind of two different ways of accomplishing the same goal. And there are other ways you can accomplish the same goal. You can be big and physical and hard to play against. You can be a fast speed team. You can be highly skilled and puck possession, whatever it is. But what makes these teams different that reach the Stanley Cup final, especially on a consistent basis, is the buy-in. You don't make deep runs without being bought into and committed to a system. And so whatever the Utah Mammoth want to accomplish, we hear a lot of talk, about the culture and about what this team's identity is. And there's still a lot of discussion about it. Once they figure that out, they need to make sure they get the buy-in from those players. And if they don't, whether it's popular or not, some guys are going to have to move. Some things are going to have to change. And that's why teams like Carolina and Vegas have repeated success, have repeated deep runs. Tampa Bay is another one. Florida got crushed by injuries this year, but, for a couple of years they had the same thing. They said, we're going to play this way. And if you want to follow us, jump on board. This is going to be winning hockey. And they commit to it.
Can you maintain your reputation of family friendly and culture based and all that while also having that sort of ruthless mentality in the NHL, while having a little bit of that Vegas cold heartedness? If you're not helping us, we're just going to get rid of you. Can those two things coexist in one franchise in your mind?
I don't think Vegas worries about that, honestly. I don't.
Does Utah?
So, me having covered the Golden Knights for a year, I can tell you that they don't. Can Utah do it? Yes, they can, because I believe Carolina does it. You look at Rod Brindamore, and he is someone who is committed to his team and I'll just use, and I don't like the word, but I'll use it, family of the Hurricanes. And that whole organization, that group, he embodies what it is like to be a Carolina Hurricane. Same thing with John Cooper in Tampa Bay. One of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet. A great salt of the earth human being, and he's won cups with Tampa Bay. And that's the culture he embodies. So, yes, I think it is important to have the buy-in of whatever that culture is. Nice guys can finish first, but you have to work extremely hard along the way to do it. And you have to be bought in and behind your coach. And look, sometimes someone has to do something they're not going to like, whether it's they're going to have to play physical hockey when maybe they're not a physical player. They're going to have to work hard when maybe they're tired or they're injured. But that's what gets you over the hump. And that is the buy-in that Utah needs. I do believe you can be family friendly and fun and entertaining and have a great show and put that show on and still find a way to win a Stanley Cup.
So who's going to win it?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. You know what? Honestly, this feels like such a coin flip series. I feel like Vegas is the sexy pick right now, and for that reason, I almost want to go to Carolina. I really do feel like this has to go 7. There's just so much going on here in the context of everything. But one thing that I am a little hesitant about with Vegas, they have been a little streaky, especially in the secondary, and I really do believe Mark Stone is a big driver for this team who hasn't been talked about as much lately because of Marner, because of Eichel. But he's been in and out of the lineup, and I think if he's not healthy enough to play, because he's not 100% healthy, clearly, But if he's not healthy enough to play, that is a big difference for Vegas. And I feel like just over the course of 7 games, Carolina will be able to wear them down and end up winning it.
Well, we get to figure it out starting tonight right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Tom Callahan, always appreciate your time and your insights, sir. Thank you very much.
OC, thank you very much for having me on. We'll talk to you soon.
Great stuff, as always, from Tom Callahan. All right, we spent a lot of time yesterday talking about the Myles Garrett trade. He is going to the Rams. The Rams are sending Jared Verse and some picks to Cleveland, and Cleveland has very, very clearly laid out their strategy. They've stockpiled young talent. They've stockpiled picks. They are expecting to be good 3 years from now. The Rams are all in on a Super Bowl. Well, will they be getting another piece to come out of retirement and help them? And this time I'm not talking about Eric Weddle. We'll discuss it next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. The Los Angeles Rams have acquired Myles Garrett. They now have the defending MVP in the NFL. They have the defending defensive MVP, the returning sack leader, the receptions leader, and the receiving touchdowns leader, all on one team heading into 2026. Okay, cool. They might also get a little extra help if you are one who likes to read the tea leaves on social media and get conspiratorial, and all of you know that I am very much in that category. Suddenly, Aaron Donald started posting a bunch of workout videos with just the random captions like "stay ready," that kind of stuff. Aaron Donald is 35 years old. He is in better shape than most 25-year-olds. He appears to not have lost a step at all in his intense workout routine since retiring from the NFL. And you could make an argument that even though he was physically very much a freak, he didn't rely on that necessarily to make him a great, arguably the greatest defensive tackle of all time, because there were times where he was playing at like 255 pounds. He wasn't relying on physicality the same way that other people do. So, are the Rams about to get Aaron Donald to come out of retirement to play on the same defensive line as Myles Garrett? If so, there should be some kind of compensatory pick situation for the rest of the league where you're not allowed to pull someone else to pull someone like Aaron Donald out of retirement. If I'm McVay, I'm making this phone call every single day. I'm saying, dude, we're all in. We're going to do one more year of this. And if I'm Aaron Donald, I'm saying, yeah, dude, I would love to come back and get a ring. Call me in the playoffs like you did with Eric Weddle. I don't want to have to do it for a whole dang season. I already retired. My body's banged up enough. I've already made enough money. It's not about that. I want another ring. I will come out of retirement in the playoffs and help you, and you can pay me the $100,000 or whatever the collective bargaining agreement says for that. Just keep a roster spot open for me. What's preventing it? There's no, like, you can do this in the NFL. Aaron Donald, mark my words, is going to play football for the Los Angeles Rams at some point this year. Probably later in the season, maybe even when they start a playoff run. And that will be a thing to behold.
Does it bother you? It bothers me, spoiler alert, just a little bit, how I'll use the word bother again. You bother to post a bunch of workout videos where you're just getting after it right after a big deal like this, where people are already going, Can you imagine if Aaron Donald was still on the Rams? He posts a big workout video like this, and then he says, "Stay ready," and then you have, like, you're giving yourself plausible deniability. Like, just say that you want to come back. Like, I don't know.
Well, the thing is,
it bothers me a little bit.
He's just hinting.
Yeah.
He's just putting breadcrumbs out there for the fans, which, by the way, the fans love. And
Yeah.
by the way, as a 49ers fan, I'm just like, no, please.
It's great.
Seahawks fans are just like, no, stay retired. You're ugly.
It's great emotional manipulation, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's the soap opera of pro sports.
Yeah.
And he's in a situation, right, where he doesn't have to. I'm somewhat facetious when I say don't come out of retirement until the playoffs. But also, you're Aaron Donald. You have nothing left to prove. First ballot Hall of Fame. You want to come back and you want to maybe hit the reset button on your health insurance and all that kind of stuff. Why not? He is just exceptional, transcendent as a player. And we very heavily publicized, I think it was just early last season, where the 23-year-old Jared Verse, who's supposed to be kind of the heir apparent to defensive line dominance, now he's off to Cleveland, but he went to work out with Aaron Donald, and he was just like, I can't complete his workouts. Why is a retired guy working out that hard anyway? Well, he's cut from a different cloth. That makes the transition back in a little bit easier. He wouldn't have to go to OTAs. They wouldn't make him come to training camp. he would probably get days off that nobody else gets off.
He wouldn't have to play in the preseason. I'm sure they'd prefer him to because he hasn't played in a few years, but still.
Honestly, he could, knowing how McVay works and knowing what a person like him is with teammate respect and all that kind of thing, he could just make the call in like week 8 to be like, okay,
I'm ready.
Reverse my retirement papers. I'm coming back.
Yeah. I mean,
and by the way, he would be an asset for the team. I mean, we watched this, people, with a guy who is, I say this with all due respect to my dude Eric Weddle, who is far less physically ready with his daily routines. When Weddle came out of retirement, he was definitely working out. He was definitely in shape. He was not killing himself in the gym every day. He was full dad mode, man.
He wasn't football shape. The stories were he was playing the thing besides, he was definitely working out in the gym and stuff, but besides his a lot more toned down everyday workout routine in retirement, he was playing pickup basketball. That was his main source of staying ready, I guess if you will, and that's obviously well below what we've seen Aaron Donald do. We've seen and heard about Aaron Donald doing even before these workout videos came out.
Michael Brockers, former teammate of Aaron Donald, went on a podcast and said, I have some knowledge that others might not have. My guy is staying ready so he doesn't have to get ready.
Oh, okay. I prefer the Von Miller approach of things. You heard this story, how he's lobbied. He's saying that he's been lobbying Sean Payton and other people in Broncos management to sign him, have him come back to the Broncos. I prefer the public, like, hey, I want to play approach versus the, hey, I want attention. I'm going to say stay ready instead of just saying, hey, I would like to play on this team. Like Aaron Donald, I know what you say. He's wanting to get that engagement. He wants to get people talking about it, but it's like, you'll get people talking about it if you say, I'm ready to play, coach. I'm just waiting for the Rams to call me. Like, you get the same kind of thing. Plus, why do you got to be so cryptic? I don't know.
Adam Schefter talked about how they don't have money for him, which is potentially a problem. But again, it's why I say it's not outside the realm of possibility where he would come back in a limited capacity, even for just a playoff run. Like Weddle did. And
what are the salary cap rules with the playoff roster? Is it
so in the playoffs you're playing for free?
Oh, right. So there's no salary anyway.
Everyone gets the same amount of money.
That's right.
It's like you get $50,000 for the first game, $25,000 if you lose. I don't know what the exact numbers are.
We went through the salary, the playoff shares table. I totally spaced that. So when Weddle came back just for the playoffs, he wasn't signed to any kind of deal. He's just like, you get a share of what the whole team gets for each round that we get in.
He made like $50,000 to do that. It was not a lot of money because I was like, I ignorantly was just like, dude, did they like at least give you like $1 million signing bonus to come out? He's like, they can't. It's collectively bargained. You're not allowed to do that. So if Aaron Donald does this, if he comes out of retirement to play, he's going to be playing at a discount. He's not going to be playing anywhere near his market value, anywhere near what he quote unquote deserves, because they paid Trent McDuffie. He's now the highest paid corner in football. Obviously, Myles Garrett is making crazy money. He's got a 4-year, $160 million contract that it sounds like he's willing to rework. So the thing is, in the NFL, though, you can always – the Patriots did this 10 times with Tom Brady, and we were just talking about this at the beginning of the show with baseball, deferred salaries or whatever. You can convert salary to signing bonuses. You can convert salary to bonuses. Like what Myles Garrett could do is he could say, all right, well, if you need money for Aaron Donald, I'd love to play with him. Part of my guaranteed salary now comes in the form of a bonus. when I make the roster June 1st of next year when the new league starts or whatever.
Yeah.
There's ways you can manipulate contracts. Also, let's be honest, NFL contracts are not fully guaranteed, so you could just cut a bunch of dudes. Now,
Right.
to find all the money that you need to pay a justifiable salary to Aaron Donald, you would probably have to cut like 10 guys. So
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense.
Which would be terrible.
He's
yeah.
going to have to pay. He's going to have to play at a discount if he plays. But Pat McAfee was talking about it on his show. He reached out to Aaron Donald directly. Aaron Donald said it for sure got him thinking when he saw Myles Garrett. The thing is, when it comes to professional athletes and flirting with the return, right? Maybe means yes. In every other part of your life, maybe means no. Hey, are you going to show up to my kid's baptism this weekend? Maybe. That
maybe.
means no. All right? Hey, are you gonna give me that bonus, boss? Maybe. That means no. But when it comes to professional athletes, hey, you thinking about coming out of retirement? Maybe means yes.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about making another run at it? You want to take another fight? That means yes. Because the answer is, for everyone else who's already done it and has already closed that door, you say, hey, if we gave you $100,000, would you come out and would you fight this person? You just say no. Because in your mind, it's no. You don't say maybe until the number gets big enough. But that can't be the reason for Aaron Donald. So him saying maybe means he's already talking to his wife about it. He's already talking to his kids about it. He's already talking to Sean McVay about it. He's already had that chat with Myles Garrett. He's already said, hey, Matthew Stafford, I'm thinking about it. How much of the season do you think you need me for? Hey, are we actually going to run for the Super Bowl?
Is Raheem Morris the D coordinator again? Is he
I think
back
that's
with
right.
them? Yeah, he's talking with whether it's Raheem Morris or someone else, the defensive coordinator, who, by the way, was the defensive coordinator when they won the Super Bowl. And he's one of the people who called to Eric Weddle and like, hey, do you want to come back? And Weddle said maybe at first, and then it was a yes. Yeah. By the way, we should see. Given this news, we should see if we get our guy on.
It's a good idea. Maybe I'll try to grab
tomorrow
or Thursday.
Or Thursday, yeah.
But yeah, it's the saga, the NFL soap opera. It's June 2nd, man. The soap opera is like, yeah, let's go. One of the greatest defensive players of all time might be back. He's 35.
Playing with another one of the greatest defensive players of all time on the same line. Can you imagine how scared the quarterbacks and offensive linemen are going to be?
Here's the thing. If you get Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald and McDuffie and everything else they've got going on, Nate Landman is a great linebacker, right? Omar Spates is a great linebacker. If you have all that, and you've got Matt Stafford, and you've got Puka Nacua, and you got Devontae Adams, and you don't win, it's because you have a bad offensive line.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Maybe that, and then that gives us fodder to be like, oh, maybe you should have traded for a Browns lineman that they just took number 9 overall instead of the Browns.
Maybe you should have drafted
defensive end.
Maybe you should have drafted Caleb Lomu instead of Ty Simpson.
Yeah,
idiots. No, I mean, also this is funny. Somebody on Kalshi after the Myles Garrett trade. Did you see this? Somebody on Kalshi bet $200,000 that the Browns will not win the Super Bowl. The payout on a $200,000 predictive bet is only $201,000. So what are you doing with that $200,000?
Yeah. Seriously. Mike Shula, still the defensive coordinator of Rams. It's Raheem Morris just got hired by your Niners. That's who it was. I knew he was back on the West Coast.
That's right. Raheem Morris came to replace Robert Saleh, who came back temporarily.
Yeah. Shout out to Kevin on the text line for
thank you, Kevin.
There. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah, Shula has been there for a few years now. Yeah. I say Mike Shula, it's Chris Shula. So many of the Shulas who've coached. Chris is the latest. Yeah.
It's not Don Shula. That's all we know. All right. Rams you stink, and I hate you, and nobody likes you, and don't bring Aaron Donald back out. Aaron Donald, do the right thing and come play for the 49ers instead.
This makes you and sales guy Chad unlikely allies with your NFC West fandom.
Well, we can be mutually hateful of the Rams, but he's a Seahawks guy, so
So you're not allies. Okay.
Can't be allies officially. Doesn't feel right. Scary Movie coming to theaters Friday. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM want to send you to see it first. Text MOVIE to 33986 for your chance to win. We're also going to give away some tickets to Smashing Pumpkins October 29th at the Delta Center. I actually want to go to that show, so I'm probably going to win, but I'll still give you a trivia question. No, just kidding. We'll give away some tickets next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. 877-353-0700. Smashing Pumpkins at the Delta Center in October. You had to be listening to the show to get this one. Hannah Wells of Texas softball. What does she eat for good luck? 877-353-0700. What does Hannah Wells, Texas softball player, eat for good luck? One of the weirdest answers I will ever ask for in a topical trivia. For tickets to the Smashing Pumpkins, 877-353-0700. Found a new loophole on the transfer portal, guys. All you have to do is become a professional baseball player for 8 years, and then you can go and you could transfer wherever you want, even after the transfer portal window is closed. Everyone's going to try to do it. Just kidding. No one can do that. The Drive with Spence Checketts is up next. Hi, Spence.
Hello, Sean. I was unaware of the potential of Aaron Donald coming out of retirement. That's a
terrifying prospect.
Feels unfair is what it does. It
would be. I don't want to see it happen in the NFC West for obvious reasons as a Niners fan. However, it would be kind of awe-inspiring to watch what an offensive line has to do to try to block him and Myles Garrett in the same play at the same time.
Yeah. It's a pretty terrifying prospect. I was just kind of doing a little reading after the trade went down. The Rams next year will have the quarterback who led the league in yards and touchdowns, wide receiver who led the league in touchdowns, a wide receiver who led the league in receptions, that was Puka, and the dude who led the league in sacks, and Myles Garrett.
Yes, offensive MVP and defensive MVP.
Yeah, it's super team-ish is what it feels like. And I guess you load up because this is probably it for Stafford, right? This is probably the last ride for him.
I mean, a lot of people thought that last year.
Yeah.
Because remember, this time last year, the reports on Matthew Stafford were that he was not able to walk. He was having a hard time standing. He was getting an epidural in his spine to see if he could manage the pain. And he ended up having the season that he had.
Yeah.
Which made me think that maybe we were being like fed false narratives just to keep things interesting for the LA Rams. I don't know.
I would imagine standing is paramount to playing quarterback.
Yeah,
probably have to stand, be able to. Maybe walk. He doesn't have to run very much, so as long as he can stand and walk, I think he can throw.
Yeah.
They shot to the top of the Super Bowl odds rapidly. They're the only team right now in the prediction market that has less than plus 10,000. I think they're plus 600. Plus 1,000. They're plus 600. So you don't really get, I don't know, maybe the NFL landscape is changing a little bit because typically you don't see a ton of like big-time player movement, superstar trades. And, I don't hate this for Cleveland either, quite frankly, because you kind of reset a little bit. You're not going anywhere. Jared Verse is a really good player. He was Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2024, and you get a bunch of different picks as well. So, of course, for the Rams, and Les Snead has kind of made a name for himself for being very willing to move draft assets for very good players. But it does feel like this is a 1 or 2 year window. And I think for Cleveland, and obviously we'll be cheering for them because of our guy Spencer Fano, I don't hate how this kind of reset their timeline either.
Yeah, I think, we talked about this after their draft. They had a really nice draft.
Yeah.
They did good things. They got the offensive tackle they needed. They got the receivers that they needed. Now they've stockpiled more picks. Who was it? Florio, who was on Rich Eisen this morning? Somebody was on Rich Eisen this morning and mentioned that the Browns now have in the next 3 drafts 10 top 100 picks.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So for them, they're saying, all right, fine. Myles Garrett by then would be 33 years old and likely starting to slow down, although maybe not because he's an alien. So instead, we're going to use this, and we're going to be good in 2 or 3 years. Rams, you go swing for the fences right now. We'll help you in that effort because in 2029 and in 2030, the Rams are expecting that as their time, which I like that the Rams acknowledge that this is their window. Try and cash in now. And I don't hate, as much as I've always hated the Browns personnel moves, I don't hate that they're like, you know what? let's see what we can do and set ourselves up for the future. Not bad.
Yeah. I don't know that they have a quarterback on the roster long term, but the Jets are kind of taking the same approach this year, where you look at this class coming up, where a lot of people believe there are 3 to 4 big time top 10 potential quarterback selections that could change the landscape of your team. So, while you're figuring out the quarterback position, probably not going to win a lot of football games this year, and you look ahead to what potentially could be a really fun draft class as far as the quarterback position, address that need, and then let these young players grow. So, the A.J. Brown trade to the Patriots also somewhat interesting because that
first reported by Diana Rossini, by the way.
Shout out. He was traded to the New England Rossinis, so shout out to them. I didn't know that he grew up a Patriots fan. I've learned this throughout this process. I didn't know A.J. Brown was a Pats fan growing up. I guess that's the Brady Patriot dynasty effect.
Last thing on the Rams, okay? If they somehow win a Super Bowl this year, they will be doing it with all those accomplished players that you're talking about, but an offensive line that nobody really respects, fears, or worries about.
Yeah.
If you can win despite this offensive line, it might change the way that teams start to load things up for the future in their own drafts. Like, just get me some bodies as long as I have a quarterback that can get the ball out of his hand fast enough, has the processing power and the arm that somebody like Stafford has. Be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and Stafford can sling it and does get it out of his hand really quickly. But at the same time, is he 38 this year? 38, 39, something like that. If he's not healthy still, if they can't keep Stafford upright, if they can't protect him, I don't know that you can expect them to win a Super Bowl. Is Ty Simpson going to be their backup? I mean, I'm not even sure what that looks like. So your point about the O-line needs to be underscored, because if Stafford goes down, this whole thing probably is left for dead, because no matter how proficient or dominant you are on the defensive line, we all know the one deal in pro football: if you don't have a quarterback, you don't even kick off. So legitimate concern for sure, but fun to just kind of picture and envision what this could look like for them. And hopefully, I don't know what happened with Puka Nacua. I don't know what happened with that kid's head. Hopefully he looks around at this opportunity he has after what has been a historic start to his pro football career and realizes, like, dude, just don't screw it up. That's all you have to do, is not screw it up. That's your one job, Puka Nacua, to not screw it up. So, look, humans are redeemable. People make mistakes, and hopefully he learns from this and gets his head screwed on straight, because this is an unbelievable opportunity that he has at such a young age.
Did you ever eat anything for good luck before sports competitions or just in general in life?
Just the competition.
Oh, got it.
No. We used to have team dinners before our games where it was your standard, like, spaghetti for the carbs, chicken for the protein. Me and a high school teammate back in the day had a tradition of going to the Veggie Barn, shout out, New Canaan, Connecticut, grabbing a turkey sandwich, a peach Snapple, which I always enjoyed. It's so wild how the diets have changed, because back in the day, you tell me if you had, like, lunch used to be like a turkey sandwich, chips, and a soda, and now it's like you're going to have a heart attack if you keep eating that way. But I used to enjoy, like, a slim turkey sandwich, nice little Snapple before a game. Why? Did you have a situation in that direction?
Well, it was reported, Holly Rowe reported on this during the Women's College World Series, that one of Texas' best players eats ladybugs whenever she sees them.
I'm sorry?
It's a good luck thing for her. If she sees a ladybug, she grabs it and eats it, and that is good luck.
Like the actual insect?
It's like a ladybug.
Because there are ladybug candy types things.
No.
This is the actual insect.
Ladybug. And it's a superstition for her that goes all the way back to childhood. We learned wild.
Okay, so say an opponent found out that piece of information and spent a week, like, collecting a bunch of ladybugs and saw this player and dumped all of the ladybugs out in front of her. What you're telling me is she, because of her superstition, would eat all of the ladybugs.
Well, I don't know in that extreme case if she would eat all of them, but she eats ladybugs for good luck. Hannah Wells.
It's really weird, man.
It's a very odd thing.
I do have a childhood memory of, you remember Neckos? Those little,
Yes.
they're not good.
They're chalk.
They're horrible.
My dad loves them.
My dad loves them.
Yeah,
it's
that's
weird behavior.
Old dads love them
It's
because they
disgusting.
apparently didn't have sugar back in the day.
Yeah, it's disgusting. I have a childhood memory of, because my dad liking Neckos, them being at the house, and one falling on the ground, and me picking it up and eating it and realized there were like 4 ants on the back of it. So I spit that out immediately. Have you ever eaten a bug either knowingly or unknowingly?
Yeah, I've eaten bugs.
You say that
knowingly.
like it's a thing.
Yeah, well, I lived in Africa for a while, and there's these thing called mopani worms
Okay.
that it's like a larva from an acacia tree, and they fry them up. It's a local delicacy. I've eaten those a lot.
See, I feel like that doesn't count if you're
Uh,
just kind of eating to live and survive, because
Well,
I guess we get into the weeds of
I wasn't gonna die.
exactly.
Yeah, you can get the fried grasshoppers in Mexico. I've tried those,
Mhm.
but I don't just randomly grab raw bugs and pop them in my mouth like this Texas softball player.
Yeah, that's
And I wouldn't do it to ladybugs.
yeah, that's a good point. Leave the ladybugs alone. They
Like,
seem to be harmless, kind
what you do
creatures.
is you let it crawl onto your fingertip, you say some kind words, and then you go
and let it go.
and you let it fly away.
The message for this Tuesday is let's protect the ladybugs. I'm with
Yeah.
you.
They will eat the aphids that are killing your flowers.
Any update with the your neighbor that yelled at your girls for playing in his flowers?
No,
Are you lying to me?
there's no update.
Oh, there's an update.
There's no update.
I can see it on your
There's
face.
no update.
What did you do, Sean?
There's no update.
Is there ring camera footage?
No, Ring camera saved that man's life.
He's still with us.
As far as I know.
Did you hire somebody to do something, Sean?
No, stop it. Don't put that evil on me. I'm sure he's just marinating in his miserable disposition while everyone else enjoys the sunshine.
Okay. We'll let him be miserable. 2 wrongs don't make a right. But you know what 2
Correct.
rights make?
What?
An airplane. Huh?
Oh,
Yep.
I like that.
Boom. Dad humor to end the show.
Stay tuned for The Drive with Spence Checketts. We'll do the Sean O'Connell Show again tomorrow. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.